Phil.
Hello.
We're here.
What's up?
I was like, we're all sitting. I can see you guys just sitting here. Like, there's no point in waiting the 10 minutes. Let's just go.
Here we are.
Make sure you
battle again.
Make sure you can't see the fact that my background isn't actually made of wood.
Ah, nice.
Can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah, it's my front door.
Oh, nice.
It's good. It's good.
Let's see. Well.
Hey, Phil.
Yes, sir.
We did miss the chimp costume. Sorry. Yeah, I thought you'd like that.
Love it. Love it. I got the THP on, but I'm too short.
Yep.
Oh, twinsies.
This is episode 59. Snakes and Stogies, brought to you by Puget Sound Pythons.
Hell yeah, son.
I don't have a trash bag in my trash can.
Wins the Puget Sound.
What are you smoking upon tonight there, Philip?
I am smoking what is becoming a classic regular for me. The Jericho Hill in a Toro. Box pressed for your deliciousness.
My first round of the eve is the Herrera Esteli Miami Edición.
Oh, the red label, my friend.
Lancero.
The red label and the Lancero, my friend. This is a good smoke.
And then the backup, good old Neanderthal HN.
Old Faithful.
Old Faithful. So we're joined by our buddy Paul McIntyre.
Yeah, we are.
So we're gonna talk some Venomous. I think we're gonna we're gonna complain and bitch. And I don't want to name names or anything like that.
We're going right into this.
But hold on. I'm announcing Paul.
Nipping this in the bud real quick, or what?
But no. First off, if you're in the Snakes and Stogies Facebook group, you need to be. We have an awesome raffle going on right now that is only going on for 4 more days. That raffle includes this car ashtray, I should say.
Which, for anyone who thinks, oh, I smoke in the car, I don't need a cigar ashtray. You do. You 100% do. Because the minute you smoke a cigar that you actually care about while on a good drive, or better yet, you're in traffic and you have to stop and such, you need a place to actually put it so you can be hands-free.
A very nice Calibri V Cutter. This is the rose gold one. These are awesome.
Put your fingertip in there.
It'll make your pee hole bigger if you want it to.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
I can speak from experience.
Oh.
That cutter is a champion device.
It is.
There you go.
I'm throwing in some HM decals.
Awesome.
And then but wait, there's more.
But wait, there's more.
10 count sidecar travel case. But it's not empty. It's got a Neanderthal, a Cro-Magnon Toro, an Aquitaine Toro.
Wow.
And a Boveda pack in the bottom. So this is like literally set and forget. Like this kit is like ready to go. And these are like some of my favorite cigars from my favorite company. So
they're some of my favorite as well. It's a hell of a selection. Now, did Chris provide the smokes, or is that from Buford Tobacco?
No, that is from Buford Tobacco.
Excellent.
From me.
Yeah.
So, I mean that's quite the kit. So there's a raffle going on. There's like 13 spots left in the Snakes and Stogies Facebook group. Please be 21 or older, because I ain't sending this stuff to kids.
Justin, I don't know if you can fix your gain or volume, but you're a little quiet on my end.
I'm a little quiet?
That's much better.
Well, yeah, I have to like eat this mic to get it to...
Man, I hope somebody screenshotted that for Dominique.
Oh, God.
Damn it.
Whatever.
She'll get it. She'll get it.
And I'm
So, Paul, are you
pairing
drinking
with
anything?
a
Am I?
Ultra Zero Monster.
I'm drinking Doers.
I'm sorry, I interrupted Justin's pairing. I'm sorry. Say that one more time, Justin.
I'm just an ultra white. These actually go like freakishly well with cigars. I think like
it's the aspartame.
The effervescence and the high carbonation really cleanses your palate, and
it's the aspartame.
Maybe.
Yeah, it's the aspartame.
It's like brandy and Diet Coke together. They sound
alcohol
horrible.
and Diet Cokes of any or diet sodas of any kind just don't work.
Yeah,
no, they do. Trust me.
No,
brandy and Diet Coke is phenomenal. But don't use it on a brandy.
Yeah, you can't use it on a good brandy.
Yeah.
Who's brandy?
I don't know.
Ooh! Can I show y'all the thing that Chris at Badlancer Petaculture made me as our Secret Santa thing in the group? It's sitting right here. I still have to hang it, and I feel bad, but it's awesome.
Yes, Cox. Diet Dr. Pepper and Crown Royal is phenomenal.
Huh? That sounds different.
Wow! Look at
that! Damn!
It's got the logo. It's like water jet is what because it's the same thing he used to make the cigar stands.
That's so cool.
Yeah, I got to figure out where I want to put it. Like, I don't want to put it in the garage. I want to put it in my snake room, but I don't have any wall space, so I don't know what I'm going to do yet. I'm still weighing my options.
Very nice.
Got the logo and everything.
Very nice.
Pretty dope. Same guy who designed up these bad boys, which we still have some of these left. We're gonna auction them off or raffle them off in future raffles. So
yeah, those are cool. So where do you guys want to start?
What's that?
Where do you guys want to start?
I mean, kind of just wing it. How's your week going? How was your New Year's? How was everyone's New Year's? We haven't been around since before Christmas.
Yeah, New Year's was awesome. Yeah, we had a great time. Lots of fireworks. So lots of booze. It was fun.
That's the way to do it.
You have any specific plans, herp-wise, for 2021?
Yeah, don't die.
A good one.
Yeah. No, we're actually looking at buying a house this year. I still got to turn all my permit stuff in so that I can get my VRC done here, and then in 4 or 5 months we'll have to do it again. So that'll be interesting.
I have a feeling Scott will chime in at some point, depending on how busy he is.
Always a welcome thing.
How about you guys? How was your New Year?
Pleasantly uneventful.
Yeah, mine was the same way. I think like it was midnight hit and it was like cool, sweet bedtime,
I will say this. I was shocked. I don't know if it was just my observation of it, but I felt like the time from when midnight struck to like 12:30 was the blink of an eye. I almost felt like I was neuralized in Men in Black. It was very interesting. My perception of time was a bit off. And yes, Scott, I expect pictures.
Oh boy.
And by the way, hi Brad, hi Thomas, hi Cox again. Hi the Puget Sound folks, we love you both. Ernie, love it.
The usual peeps.
Welcome to the group.
And anyone who's new.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What's up, everybody? So there was a podcast or YouTube, whatever it's called. I didn't want to really rip on a bong at the beginning of this or flash a handgun around so that everybody can be all excited for no good damn reason whatsoever.
Really appreciate.
Yeah. But I think, and I actually wrote down some things, but we can wing it. And just honestly, if you take a look at what's happened in 2020 and a lot of the different laws that are being passed. Phil, you're here in Florida, so you know as much as I do. They're hunting. They're hunting for everything. They're still looking to ban all the CSP animals. There's supposed to be a meeting in February. Well, no, it's still up in the air.
It's not, because I got a phone call and a letter, and I was told that if I had a brick and mortar facility that was open to the public for more than 6 hours a day, then I could have my CSP.
Oh, well, I know a couple people up here in Orlando that pay pretty close attention to it. And they're saying that the final on paper ruling will be sometime in February. I'm not sure when that meeting is, but if we roll back in time, all these rules and all this stuff come from, I hate to say it this way, just straight stupidity. People doing dumb things. And we expect that when people do a dumb thing, it's not going to affect all of us. It's going to affect just that person. And it just doesn't work that way. Those laws may not happen in the state of Florida. They could come to where Justin's at. They could go up. I mean, I don't even want to say New York, because New York is horrible. I was there during all the confiscations. I know how that all worked out. I know what it's like, and I know it sucks. So, but when we do stupid things and we put it on the internet for everybody to see and it never goes away, sooner or later, those stupid things are going to hurt us. And I don't care if you do it behind the scenes and you're doing it, off the camera and whatever. You want to take a bite from something like that and die? That's up to you. That's not my choice.
Just for clarity, we're talking about free handling.
Yeah. For those that I'm sure could figure it out.
Free handling.
Yeah. So it'd be no different than picking up a handgun. I mean, Justin, if you came over here and saw my handgun sitting on the counter and you picked it up, it's loaded. No ifs, ands, or buts. There's one in the chamber. If you aim it at somebody and pull the trigger, they're going to die. What's the difference? I mean.
Well, it's also the classic thing of you can unload a handgun.
Exactly.
Handguns don't jump off the counter, shoot across the room, and bite someone else.
Yeah, and it's scary when you hear some of these guys say things like, it has no effect on anything. It does.
False.
The FWC officers down here watch YouTube. I know they do, because I've been called out. When I did my unboxing of my Sun Tiger retic, it was just a quick video that I posted. But my Fish and Wildlife officer called me and asked me if I had my import papers for that. So
which is a whole nother fucking thing.
Oh yeah, that's
the whole concept of statewide importation, which is Kafka.
Yeah, it's for those that don't know what it is. It's a free permit. It takes about 14 days. All you got to do is fill it out. It's 3 or 4 lines. I'm getting this, this, and this. They're coming from this person. Here's a copy. It takes them about 2 weeks, and they send you back the permit. So when I first got my CSP, the first officer that I had, I asked, okay, now that I have my permit, what else do I have to do if I want to buy a snake from somebody in Maryland? And he told me, you don't have to do anything. Well, I had that in an email. So when he retired and the new guy came in and asked me where all my import permits were, I didn't even know what they were. I had no idea. Yeah, I had no idea. And I'm like, import permit? And he's like, yeah, whenever you bring something in. I said, so in other words, all the pet stores in the state of Florida have to do an import permit every time they do a reptile order?
Only on CSP.
Yeah. So I'm like, that makes no sense. And he's like, yeah, you have to. The guy that I had told me that permit had to be filled out for every animal that you brought in. Ball python, corn snake. Yeah.
See, I'm lucky in the sense of my inspector is not a snake guy by any means.
Mm.
However, he is very knowledgeable about the laws because that's his job. His job is not to memorize the laws. Their title is not law memorizer or reciter. It's law enforcement. Their job is to enforce the law, not memorize them all. So on countless occasions, he has literally said, hey, hang on, I don't know, because That's new, and they haven't even told us about it. Let me call someone or look something up, which I commend him for that. But at the same time, now I'm chastised for something that me nor anyone I personally know has done, and now I'm restricted and prohibited from doing something that I did in the past without any issues whatsoever.
Yeah, exactly. And I hate to say this, but there are a lot of these FWC officers that they really don't know.
No.
They don't know enough. They don't know enough to answer a question. And the worst part is when you get from FWC, call the office, and you call the office and they say, oh no, call the field guy. And neither one of them can come up. Yeah, neither one of them can come up with a coherent answer. And again, you're right, Phil. It's not law memorizer or reciter. They're there to enforce the laws that are on paper. So unfortunately, there's a whole lot of wishy-washy, and I see it this way, and another guy sees it this way, and
right. At the same time, they are by law. Because they are state law enforcement in Florida. See, that's what a lot of people don't realize. There's a lot of DNR and fish and game throughout the country. But in Florida, the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission, which is the full name of FWC, they are the highest level of state law enforcement in Florida. So if you see like an FWC truck on the interstate highway and you're doing 90 and you pass,
pull you over.
That's Fish and Wildlife. He can't do nothing. I'm in a city. No, you will have your truck or car impounded. You'll have your firearms impounded. You'll have, $5,000 in fines because they'll throw the book at you because they can. It's state law enforcement. So
it's the same in New York. The DEC in New York is the exact same way.
So they're legally obligated to investigate every single potential crime when revolving around captive wildlife. So about 7-8 years ago, I got a phone call from an inspector or an investigator who wasn't even my guy. It was a different county. And he says, hey, man, are you missing a king cobra? And this was before the Orlando stuff. This was before any of the other crap. I said, no, I don't even keep kings because, I just don't have them. I live in an apartment. He's like, okay, because someone in your city posted a Craigslist ad. Do you mind if I swing by your house and show it to you and we can talk in person? I said, of course. So he comes by, pulls out an iPad, and it was a legitimate Craigslist ad. Lost snake, responds to the name of Fluffy. Please call this number if found, reward. And it was a picture of a 75-year-old man in Indonesia with a 14-foot king, and he's like shirtless in the jungle holding this king cobra. And I'm like, listen, not only is that picture not in Florida, it's also like 20 years old, and it's a famous internet picture. So some kid was having fun with it, but because of that, they're legally obligated to investigate. So I was the only guy in the area that had cobras at the time. So I got
of course. We talk about, like I said, we talk about laws, and cell phone laws are no different. Let's take a look back however many years when they took cell phones and said you can't be on your phone in your car, right? And then shortly after that, it was texting. And they just didn't say one day, hey, you know what, we're going to do that. They did it as a reaction to people dying and doing stupid things. So, and maybe that king cobra that bites you on the finger and you lose a portion of your finger and you're in the hospital for 2 months and you almost die. Now that's got the bug in everybody's ear. That's just where it starts. And nobody's going to come out and say that one incident caused us to pass this law. They're not going to do that. It's just going to slowly roll down the hill. Yeah. It's just going to slowly bleed out. Rather. Yeah. So all this stuff is doing is pushing us closer and closer to not being able to do what we want to do. And I'm very passionate about it. I can't stand a couple of these guys that I could only watch 5 minutes of that show and it made me sick to my stomach. I did get a private message from the individual asking what my problem was with him. I did respond, and he read it 2 days later and didn't respond back with anything. So to me, he's gutless. Doesn't matter. I could give a fuck. I'm not here to sugarcoat anything. I don't believe in it. I don't believe in free handling. Realistically, I don't believe in anything that's negative to this industry, because again, how much longer before it goes to federal fish and wildlife and they say, hey, you know what? We're just going to stop all this shit. We're going to go back to, you can't ship it across state lines. You can't sell it. You can't sell outside. You can't breed. You can't do this. It doesn't take very much. So, and Scott, the free handling on YouTube is just for personal gain. It's just for these guys to get a few clicks, get a few views, shock the crowd. Ooh, look at me. But again, if you want to do that crap, do it on your own. Don't do it where everybody can see it. It's only hurting us. But No, I understand. It makes them money, know.
Now I'm going to take it a step further. I never wanted to bring this up. I never wanted to bring it up on this show or any podcast for that matter, but I'm going to because it's relative to what we're talking about. I would say that most of the people, if they haven't watched Tiger King, they at least know the premise of it.
Yeah.
For those of you who have not seen it, I personally haven't watched more than the first 30 minutes because I know what it's about, and the whole thing is
entertaining as hell.
I understand.
It is entertaining.
Separate the art from the artist, and it's hilarious.
So
it's like
what I was
the
going
Twilight
to say
Zone.
is the show starts off at a reptile keeper's home, showing off venomous animals.
Yep.
And and then immediately after showing that off, it goes to an individual who had a vehicle with a big cat inside it, and that's their segue into the whole concept of big cats and the keepers of big cats, which turns into Tiger King. Right? Now, most people don't realize this, but that show was supposed to be about us. It was supposed to be about herpetoculture. It was supposed to be about venomous keeping and big snake keeping and people who keep freaking bearded dragons at home and how they're crazy because the rest of society doesn't associate reptiles with fun. And something happened. I won't go into too many details because again, I don't want to talk about it, but something happened and the producers of said movie or show or miniseries, whatever, decided to focus on the big cat people instead of the reptile people. Well, because of the great success of that series, that miniseries, the reptile one's already done. And it's slated to come out, if not this year, next year. So we are now on the guillotine. Now, it could spark a whole big thing and everyone goes, oh my God, reptiles are awesome. It could be the polar opposite of Tiger King. Or it could make us look like Tiger King and then we're all screwed.
Have you seen the other Netflix documentaries?
What's that?
Have you seen the other Netflix documentaries? There's not a whole lot of positive going on there. I mean, they're good.
Yeah, there's no positive. Listen, the only thing
people getting murdered or never being found. Yeah.
So here's a question, and I'll ask anybody that's in the chat, anybody that's watching this. I would ask anybody this: if you have kids, what type of people do you want your kids to look up to? What type of people do you want your kids to want to be like?
But see, here's my problem with that. I see exactly where you're going. And again, this is me playing devil's advocate.
Yeah,
but
100%.
There are people out here that know that some of the individuals that we're referencing, I'm friends with. And I know for a fact that they are good keepers, that they know how to take care of their animals well. Their husbandry is on point. The problem is that that's not what's being shown.
Yeah.
Showboating is what's being shown. And I don't want to say I lose respect for them because I know them on a personal level. They know me on a personal level, and I know where they've come from and how they've evolved into where they're at now. And they're extremely successful. Exactly, people like Scott. So
here's the thing.
It's not that they're bad. It's that what's being portrayed is viewed bad.
Well, okay, so back to the devil's advocate side of that. There's very few people in this world that I have a huge hatred for. And Darren, ding, ding, ding. But I will say this. Somebody like Tom, who by no means am I saying that he didn't do a lot for the industry itself, but he's a criminal. And that, unfortunately, is something that shadows is over top of him. And he does things that sometimes are, like you said, Phil, is it showboating? I don't think it's so much showboating with Tom now. I think he's well past that. I think at this point, it's just, I'm me. This is what I'm going to do. And that's it. Fuck you. I've been here long enough and I've been on the earth long enough and I deserve to do what I want to do. And by all means, again, if that's what you want to do, that's fine. But go back to 3 days ago when Dingo from Africa posted a picture swimming in a pond holding a 10-foot king cobra. He is so allergic to a lapid venom that if a spitting cobra spits near him, he has a reaction and ends up in the hospital. But I'm going to jump in a pond with a 10-plus foot king cobra and swim around with it. Come on. I mean, yeah, enrichment. Uh-huh. I don't get that.
I recently had a friend's sister call me and say, hey, my child is watching in particular YouTube videos that he finds absolutely fascinating. He's 6 or 8 years old, whatever. And he wants a pet scorpion and he thinks they're cool. And I said, good for him. Bugs are awesome. Learn about bugs. Don't be afraid of bugs. Bugs are great. Arachnids are awesome.
Yep.
And then she changed it. And the caveat was he's going in the backyard and catching bees and letting them sting him to see the reaction. And it's happened like 4 or 5 times because he wants to see if something's going to happen. And part of me wants to say, kids will be kids. And the other part of me says, no, he watched that on something. And instead
I can tell you.
And I know what we're going to keep this as PG as we can because the point of the show is to talk about snakes and cigars, not to go on a rant, which we all have felt the need to do recently. But that really, really irked me because that kid has no idea what he's allergic to. That kid has no idea what his, symptoms of whatever are going to be.
Yeah.
He's 6 years old. He's 8 years old. And now I'm like, no, don't buy him a pet emperor scorpion. Don't buy him a rose-hair tarantula because he's going to let it bite him.
Yeah.
To do it.
And listen, we all watch those. The video series. We all watch that video series. I mean, but again, we're adults. So like you said, we know, I don't feel so good. This kid's going to go get stung by something and end up in his bedroom. And all of a sudden he's going to be out and nobody's going to know why, So yeah, it's tough. It points to a whole generation of, God, I hate saying it, stupidity. It is. It just doesn't make any sense. It's the throwing a pebble in the water and watching the ripples is like picking up that cobra and standing, bobbing your head around like, God, I don't even know what to compare it to, but you're just digging a hole for everybody. And it's not just them. And when those guys say things like, oh, it's no big deal, don't worry about it, it's not the end of the world, blah, blah, blah. It's like, you're right. It isn't the end of the world. Not yet, but you'll be the first one to be jumping up and down and screaming when Fish and Wildlife is standing at your door saying, we're here to take all your animals away from you. Have a nice day.
I don't know. I don't think that would be that much of a concern for them because I feel like if they end up doing flat out bans, a lot of these folks will just be like, okay, and move on to the next thing because it's not about the animals to begin with.
Yeah,
no, I will say that there are certain individuals that are genuinely passionate about it, and there's certain individuals where that's their life.
Yeah, well, no, Phil, you're right.
Yeah. So, I mean, and it's one of those things where some of these individuals I wasn't friends with, and somebody told me, hey, you really got to talk to him or her or whomever. And I was like, all right, I'll give them the benefit. And I was like, holy shit, man, they're awesome. Why do they got to fucking do that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it is what it is. We act accordingly. We roll with the punches, and we do the best that we can to show safe husbandry and safe tactics and things of that sort.
My biggest concern, is like it only takes one frantic parent or whoever to decide that they want to lead the charge on.
It's not even that.
Like
it's ahead of that. It's, for example, we have a local newspaper called the Sun Sentinel. Not to cut you off, Justin, I'm sorry, but this is totally relative to what you're saying. We have a local newspaper called the Sun Sentinel. Almost every year, a journalist or editor from the Sun Sentinel posts a list of every single license holder in Florida, because unfortunately it is public record, and they tie a link to your address so that everyone knows where you live and what you have.
It's like
how effed up is that? What's that? Yeah. So now
I didn't know about Phil. I didn't know about that.
Oh yeah,
I didn't know that. That's interesting.
And it's linked to, I guess they have some kind of algorithm where when the local paper is my county. Well, if you zoom out on Google Maps, it shows everyone, because there's only so many of us now.
Yeah. Yeah. Which I know that the body cam footage, you can apply or send in, I think, a request, and you can get body cam footage from any inspection. So my last CSP inspection, I mean, it's in my house. So this guy's coming into my home, and I mean, realistically, anybody can use that information against you however they want. But yeah, those are the things that, that just kill us. So
I'm just, my point was that, like, public panic is a great way to get things passed.
I've heard
people make decisions on emotion and not rationale.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what the people that don't want us to own these things are gunning for.
Mm-hmm.
We heard from a good friend of ours, somebody that I met through Cody, that used to do a lot with the Venomous and CSP and crocodilian stuff with Fish and Wildlife. And he pretty much told us how disheartening it is when you hear things like, all you got to do is hand a senator, a congressperson, X amount of dollars, and they'll pass any law that you want. So if PETA or HSUS has $100,000 and they want a law to go, all they have to do is say, here you go, make this work. And
I just finished watching House of Cards. That's exactly how it works.
but it's a scary thought to think that who knows? It sounds like it's not supposed to be that way, but if it works that way, if an organization gets enough money together, that's all they need. Right. Who was it? The Melbourne congresswoman that pushed that CSP ban was attached to, for those that don't know, that bill is attached to a hunting and fishing bill that is really important to hunters and fishermen. That bill is pretty much saying that PETA or HSUS or any organizations can't go after a hunter or a fisherman while they're out fishing or hunting. And all of a sudden at the end of this bill is, we're going to ban all this stuff. And it's like, this has nothing to do with the other. So why is it there? Why was it allowed to be put in there?
We saw him do that with that original COVID relief bill earlier, last year,
Yeah.
They're sneaky, man.
Sure. 5,800 pages of what? 5,800 pages. And it's funny to see that we're sending billions of dollars overseas, and half of that is we get it. It just doesn't make any sense. I'm not saying, listen, I have a job that we've been busier than ever through COVID. I feel like they should be focusing on people that don't have that luxury. So, but again, it's just none of it makes sense. So,
well, I think people also lose sight of the fact that, like, just the fact that we own snakes and reptiles and things that are historically, like, there's a lot of misinformation and a lot of myths and crap. Like, the odds are kind of already stacked against us to begin with. You know, like, us going and trying to justify why we do what we do to people that aren't in it, no matter how you explain it or how you sort of spin it, like, people, if they're hardcore biased against it, they're not going to change their mind.
No.
And so I think people lose sight of the fact that, like, we are, like, no matter what's going on, whether it's a ban on Venomous or, big constrictors or anything, Like the odds are not really in our favor, and we have to work double as hard.
Yeah.
Because these people, like, it doesn't, whether we have them or not, they clearly don't care. Like,
well, here's the thing, Phil. You know the rules here in the state of Florida, correct?
Very much.
You're pretty versed on them.
I would say.
Okay, Justin. You know the laws and regulations in your area, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so the CSP law came into it. The whole CSP thing came out. We had three prominent YouTubers from here in the state of Florida all get on within a 3-day period, 4-day period, and post videos with the incorrect information because they were too damn lazy to go and hit the button that said, read the bill. So you had one guy saying all of Venomous was getting banned. You had another guy saying all of Venomous was getting banned. And you had another one saying the breeding of everything was getting banned. These guys had no idea what they were talking about. Listen, I heard the Venomous thing and I thought, holy shit, they got to know what they're talking about. These guys are right there. So I'm calling my guy, asking him, and he's like, what are you talking about? There's nothing about Venomous.
Because I remember that's when we had you on THP, because that was when that was going on. And that whole episode was meant to help sort of explain it better to people.
Yeah. And it's like you can't take 5 minutes and just read. It was 2 pages long. It's not even, and it wasn't like it was hard to understand. It was, hey, we're going to add iguanas and tegus to CSP. You can still breed them and sell them out of the state of Florida, and everything else on the CSP list is gone and prohibited. So the only way you can keep that stuff is brick and mortar. And I didn't hear the 6-hour part, Phil. That's crazy. 6 hours a day.
I may have embellished 6 hours. You have to be open a percentage of the day.
Yeah.
For a schedule of time, like a retail brick and mortar store.
Yeah, exactly. No, even that is the problem is back before this went into effect. When I talked to my investigator and asked him, listen, what should I do? And he just told me, I've been in your house. I know how it's set up. Put all your animals in the front. You can open up 1 day a week. Just open up to private tours. He said, just have people sign a logbook, and I'm good with that. And I was like, sweet. That's okay. And then a month later, he called me and told me, hey, that don't work.
You know why it doesn't work?
Why?
Because your house is zoned for residential.
Exactly. Well, yeah, makes sense.
And at the same time, in my county, I need a city business permit. I need city business insurance. I need an actual business license through the state. I have to be registered with Florida SunBiz. And at the same time, I have to have a permit to exhibit animals per the county. So I have to get all those things and then still be zoned for commercial or retail use.
Hey, Cody Bartolini's here.
Hey, Cody Bartolini.
Sure is. Because Scott asked how many venomous keepers are in Florida, and Cody said approximately 300.
Which is hilarious because when I would say back in like 2004, because it's public record, you used to be able to, you probably still can, it's probably digital now, but you could call FWC and say, hey, I'm buying a snake from Paul in West Palm Beach. I need to make sure he's real. Can you send me a list of all the people? And they would send you the 4 pages or whatever because it's super fine print. And there was probably around 600 and change. And it gets less and less and less and less and less every year. And how many of those people are still keeping? Who knows?
Right.
We'll never know. But I know a lot of people did let their license lapse because they did the right thing. They're like, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. They sold off their whatever. But they're doing everything in their power to discourage us. And before I got my letter saying you're off the fucking list, I got a phone call from my inspector saying, hey man, this was like a month before I got the letter. He's like, hey man, you know what this phone call is about? And I said, I think so. He goes, you knew it was only a matter of time, man. I'm sorry, bad guy. And I was like, so I'm off the list? He goes, you're off the list. I said, so I can't do anything? And he's like, well, we haven't fine-tuned those numbers and whatnot yet. He says, I got your inspection in 3 months. I'll know definitively then when I re-inspect you. But his words exactly were verbatim. It's the beginning of the eradication. And that's heartbreaking, man.
Yeah.
Heartbreaking. So
hey, Ryan wants to invite Cody on. I have to work in the morning. I love you, Cody.
I do love Cody's rants, though.
Oh,
there are
good
a few
Lord.
things that make me laugh as hard as Cody's rants.
Oh yeah, Cody was putting fence doors on today, so I got to see some videos in our group chat. So,
nice.
But yeah, it's a whole lot of why do it? Why do anything that is going to, and it doesn't matter what it's with, whether it's with a firearm, it's alcohol, it's weed, it doesn't matter. The list goes on and on. Again, Scott, 22 million versus 300. Yeah, that does suck when you put it that way, but if we can educate people and give them a legitimate view of realistically what we're doing and not have a YouTube podcast of two guys that are just they're pretty much in space. It was like I said, it was 5 minutes and I was like, I'm done.
If we got Scott and Cody in together, that would just be.
We'll have to do that hours in advance to map out.
Yeah, that would be like a Sunday morning. We'd start Sunday morning and just go all day.
Mute my mic and just watch.
Yeah. Watch the chaos ensue.
Yeah, the frustrating part for me is just the fact that you have a platform with a following like that, and instead of doing things that could help, you're choosing to go the opposite direction. It's like it just.
If you can't make a video, that people want to see, then maybe you shouldn't be making videos. I mean, that to me, if you have to run down the street and smash somebody in the back of the head with an egg, as funny as that may be, I don't see how long you're going to get away with it, before somebody turns around and breaks your neck, or you take a bite from something it's insane. It just baffles me. It's mind numbing that people think that it's okay. And, Mike, I understand money. These guys are making money on YouTube. You know what? I went back and I forget who I was having a conversation with, and they made the comment that a lot of these guys are getting less views right now. And they're correct. Their views are down substantially because I think you're starting to see a swing to, okay, it's the same old thing every time. How many times can I watch somebody, how many times can I watch this guy hold a rattlesnake before it's like, okay, so.
Well, on a lighter note, this has nothing to do with the topic we've talked about at all in the least capacity.
Okay.
But I'm going to do a selfless plug. I recently started if Scott jumps on,
oh God,
dangerous, Cody, dangerous. I hope he's using wild turkey appropriately.
And Mike's absolutely right. He said it's the same reason the Kardashians are still around. People feed off suspense, drama, and risk. And that's human nature. Like, we're always going to gravitate towards things that are potentially dangerous because our brain says we need to be paying attention to that, not the video of a deer eating corn somewhere in a field just hanging out. Like, that's Paul not a threat. Huh?
Paul and I have definitely watched that.
Yeah.
Deer eating corn. Look at this field. Yeah. So, side note, I recently started what I'm referring to the Venomous sidecar of the Herpetoculture Network. And that's going to be Venomous etiquette videos. It is not in retaliation to anyone on YouTube. It is not a finger to the face saying, this is how you're supposed to do it. I wanted to make an online visual educational thing on manual manipulation of venomous animals in captivity, in husbandry, because I can tell a million people, oh yeah, you feed with hemostats or you feed with long tongs. That doesn't help at all. There's a procedure that you should follow, or you may want to evaluate yourself and see about how you can articulate and negotiate the obstacles of that enclosure so as to limit the amount of viable time and space between you and that venomous animal. And that's what I want to cover in these episodes. We're going to cover tools and tactics. We're going to cover general husbandry techniques in terms of different types of caging, different types of snake proofing the room, and I'm going to bring you to multiple different venomous guys' rooms and gals, and show you how other people do it in relation to what I've taught individuals as well as what I've learned myself. Cody doesn't know yet, but we're doing stuff with you and with Paul and Cody. He doesn't, and Pia too. He doesn't know, but it's going to happen. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun for the people that want to nerd out on the technical aspect. I was telling Nipper this afternoon, it's going to be very, very Mr. Miyagi. It's going to be very wax on, wax off, and thinking outside the box. And it's not just picking a snake up with a stick and putting it in a garbage can to restrain it. It's going to be
amen, Clayton.
It's going to be very the best way to overcome ignorance is knowledge. It's going to be very, very tactics-based and safety-based, because that's my whole thing. Henry's been saying it for years. The stuff that I show people, the stuff that I teach, it's all safety, man. It's all safety. You can go Google, and you can learn husbandry tactics on Google. My whole thing is showing people how to deploy those tactics in a way that you wouldn't normally consider. So, Venomous
you can
on YouTube. Check it out.
I've handled large constrictors for a long time. And Venomous has been something that I've always wanted to do. And when I found out, that you needed hours here in Florida, and then I was lucky enough to meet Cody and Pia, a lot of it's all safety stuff. It's an animal's an animal. You're going to learn those animals over time, but it's about doing it the safest way possible. Yeah. So that you leave. We used to say it in the dairy. We want our operators and our employees to leave with all their fingers, all their toes, their eyes, their ears, everything you came to work with. We want you to leave with. We want you to be safe. And it's no different in what we do, being safe with Venomous. And I wish, again, I think some of these guys have a great message, and I think some of them have an astronomical amount of intelligence. I just think that they choose not to use it when they're doing these YouTube videos, because they're so hooked on getting that money, chasing that view, chasing that chasing that adrenaline rush. You can have that adrenaline rush and not do any of that stuff. You don't need to do it on camera. Well, yeah. I get it. It's turning into a job now, but we've heard rumors, and I guess I haven't watched any of the videos, but one of these guys said that he's no longer going to free handle on camera anymore because he was asked to by Fish and Wildlife not to do it.
In Florida?
I don't know. Yeah. I don't know how true that was.
Well, I haven't talked to any of my guys about it, but I know for a fact that Fish and Wildlife in Florida doesn't care so much about the free handling as it is the outside stuff. So, guy gets a new eyelash viper. Oops.
Jesus, Phil.
Sorry.
What the hell was that?
Professional.
It's
I
on.
thought a bomb was going off.
Sorry about that, folks. Yeah, it's on silent. I don't know why the hell it's ringing.
It's someone texting you, listening to this, saying, "Go fuck yourself."
Yeah, right. It's not so much the free handling or the poor display of how they're doing it. It's the guy who gets a brand new eyelash viper, and he's like, "Oh my God, look at this new eyelash viper! I'm gonna go put it on my ficus hedge for 5 seconds so I can take a cool jungle picture." And it's literally on the branch for 5 seconds, and it's this big, and it's not old enough to breed, and it's not going to get loose because it's incapable of running away. But that's no bueno. The state does not want the animals to leave the restricted enclosure or the restricted room. So I know that they're cracking down on that real hard.
Hey, you should just go ahead. It looks like Scott wants to get in and bring Cody in too. If Cody's three old fashions deep, this is going to be interesting.
I guess just Cody's internet work better now?
Yeah, he should be good.
Let me see. I just sent it to Eipper. Those damn Aussies pull no punches, man. Zing.
Hey, there he is.
Look, he's even got his headphones with him. He's ready.
What's up, Scott?
Go on.
I love that, man.
Everyone hear me all right?
Yeah.
Most definitely.
Beautiful.
Oh, look, he's rubbing his hands.
Uh-oh.
Happy 2021, boys. What's that happening?
Jeff said release the Kraken.
Hey, now, Cody, I think you need to get on, son. You said you'd jump on if I did.
Yeah. Come on, Cody.
Cody is having Pia teach him how.
Fucking Lord. How are you?
Damn it.
That's it.
So,
Damn it.
Scott, you said 22 million venomous licenses in all of Australia?
No. So there's 22
Population of
million
Florida.
people in Florida.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So you got
300 against 300 of us.
Versus
Yeah.
300.
Yeah.
They're fucked up odds, kids.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And that's why we need to educate people and just get the good word out. I know it's I can tell you that I have a very good friend at work. And when he found out I kept snakes, he told me if I ever brought a snake to work, he would shoot the snake and me.
That's what it is.
And past that, he's been to my house now and he's actually handled a snake. And he said it, not really for me, but because you've show the passion and you talk about it, you know, you get excited. It's changed his mind.
Yeah.
So
Henry
Again,
gets messages on Facebook from people that he hasn't talked to in decades saying, hey, you know, I used to hate snakes or used to be afraid of snakes, but, you know, you showing me videos on Facebook, it changed my opinion of it. And I realized that they are part of us and we need to keep them around. So even that little bit, you know, it's awesome.
but this is
Now,
the
Scott, I
fucking
got to
problem,
ask you. Scott, I got to ask you. I saw, because I'm in a bunch of Aussie Lapid groups, I saw the thumper, the solar powered thumper that goes in the ground as a snake repellent. I was waiting. I thought it was a gag, man. I really did. So for those of you who haven't seen it, it's basically it basically looks like a toy rocket. It's like this big, like basically like a stake you'd put in the ground, and on top of it, it has a little miniature solar panel. And I guess the solar energy, you know, charges it, and it gives out vibrations to ward off snakes and repel snakes.
Oh, God.
I thought it was a gag. It's like the thumper from Dune. I love it.
fucking serious.
Yeah, and I was waiting for it for the guy to put it in the ground and like have it start thumping, and then like just like the Eastern Brown just slithers by, like, what the fuck is this? I thought it was a gag.
Did you see the video I put up of a fucking death adder that was curled up about 4 feet away from one?
From the thumper?
Yeah, from one of those things.
No kidding. I gotta go find it.
So not only is it it's an elapid that is dangerously venomous, but it's also one that happens to be fucking to sit and wait for fucking ages, and this thing sits next to a fucking solar repeller. Fucking joke. As someone said to him, they're better off marketing him with solar-powered dildo.
I wasn't going to say that, but that's essentially what it is.
Yeah, essentially.
I've got the perfect fucking tagline for him, giving you your fucking eco-friendly buzz. You know, that's all it is.
Oh, man.
If you're going to get fucked, you might as well get fucked out of your money, so why not?
Yeah, you might as well help somebody else.
Could you imagine? Could you imagine if it attracted deathies? How great would that be?
I'd have like 50 of them.
It would be
I'd
amazing.
have them in my yard. Yeah. No, they do nothing.
Yeah.
And you know the thing is, right, is you can't argue with these fuckers with logic. So I said to him, so you reckon these work? Oh, yeah, we've tested them. I said, how? I said, you need an animal ethics permit to fucking test. You can't subject an animal to something without getting an animal ethics approval, right? So there's got to be an ethics approval, right? I said, so what was your ethics number? We didn't test in Australia. I said, no, you didn't fucking test at all. I said, what bullshit? I said, The thing is, and it's the biggest crock of shit going, right? Everyone says that snakes are afraid of what vibration and all this sort of shit. If they were afraid of vibration, do you think the fucking semi that drives down the road would repel snakes from going onto the fucking road in the first place? And they wouldn't get it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
People getting attacked by snakes, right? People say, "Oh, fucking snakes!" Fucking rubbish. Snakes don't attack anyone, right? That fucking 5 foot fucking adamantius that you've got that cruises around down in Florida there. That thing might be 5 feet long. He's not dancing around on the tip of his fucking tail, right?
My cousin got chased by a cottonmouth, and my uncle's girlfriend's daughter told me.
Right? So 2 inches tall. So most people are what? 60 inches fucking tall. You're at least 30 times larger than that fucking snake for that snake. Are you going to pick a fight with something 30 times your fucking size?
That's why they have rattles. That's why they have rattles. They go, "Hey man, don't step on me."
Yeah, exactly. Don't hurt me. I don't want to be part of you. Yep. Fucking rubbish. You know.
Yeah, and what's funny is you guys have those road trains.
Fucking venomous keepers. Fuck me dead. I don't understand why we're so nice about it. At the end of the day, they're fuckwit. Just ban them. Every fucking person. Another way to deal with it would be, all right, you're a fuckwit. Okay, the whole venomous community has nothing to do with you anymore. It's not that fucking hard.
Oh my god. Oh.
That's a picture that comes up when Cody calls me.
Yeah, of course.
If you professionally ostracize those people, right, and go, right, okay, you're a fuckwit on YouTube, fine. I won't deal with you. I won't sell you rats. I won't fucking sell you snakes. I won't have anything to do with you. As far as I'm concerned, you're fucking dead to me. Move on. Have nothing to do with it. The whole venomous community can actually get rid of these fuckwits. But the venomous community don't want to do that. Because as much as they hate saying that they don't like free handlers and all the rest of it, they don't really fucking care. They're all secretly jealous of fucking the Tyler Nolans and shit like that because he's getting more props than they are when it comes to venomous. And they want Tyler or fucking Chandler or whoever, whichever fuckwit we're talking about this week, they want them to come to their house to show off their venomous collection.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, because it's clicks and views. It's clicks and views. It's if you bring them over to here, I mean, you get them over here and they film that I'm going to get more people to follow me, and instead of just do your thing and be positive, good husbandry, safety, and that's all you need to do. To me, it makes no sense. I mean, we have too many shady, scummy people out there, and unfortunately, you know, it's when I meet somebody new and say, I work with venomous snakes, the first thing they ask is, "Oh, do you pick them up? Do they crawl around your house?" No, we don't pick them up. We use hooks. I wear gloves. I
never understood that. That is a question I get asked quite frequently. Even when we're not, they don't even bring up venomous. They just go, "Oh, you have pythons? Do you let them roam around the house?" I'm like, "Well, do you let your hamster roam around the house? Do you let your, you know what I mean? Like, that's a weird question. Like, it's not a dog.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And half the time, these
people the best way I describe it to people that don't keep reptiles is that they're like tropical fish.
Yeah. Yep. It's
right?
a tropical fish.
You don't put your hand in the tropical fish tank. You don't get them out. You don't cuddle them. You don't give them fucking a bedroom story at night.
I'm just saying I have.
You maintain that. You might feel, but that's just
pretty fish.
Pretty fish. Yeah, I bet you do it with lionfish too.
Right? Yeah. It's like, oh man, this one's spicy.
Sorry. You explain it to people like they're a tropical fish, and they go, "Oh, okay, fair enough, that's fine."
Yeah.
It gets their feeble brain to fucking work for some reason. So, but the thing is keeping venomous isn't hard. It's not hard, but it's fucking boring.
Yeah.
Done right, it's fucking boring. And You know what, Phil? More power to you if you do these fucking videos, mate. You'll get like 10 views.
That's fine. That's fine. I don't care.
That's what you're going to get. Because that's all I fucking got.
Because I know that those 10 people, those individuals that watched it, at least I hope that they're going to take something out of it and say, wow, I didn't think of it like that. Whether they think I'm a quack or they think I'm trying to be Mr. Miyagi, I don't care. If I can help a little bit, I will. And it started off with a kid. I'll say a kid. He's 20-something years old. He's out of state, across the country. And he's like, hey, man, I live in a state where Venomous is basically over the counter. And nobody wants to teach me anything because they really don't know what they're doing either. He says, so can you give me some pointers over the phone? And I started to
the other issue is that. Sorry,
what's that, Scott? No. I was just going to say.
You get fucking sued.
Yeah, of course. Well, I could. Yeah, but the stuff I'm telling him is not, hey, you're going to touch it here or you're going to pick it up here. Yeah. It's not. It's more. I found myself mentally articulating how I was going to describe things vividly so that it wasn't just like, oh, you just do this. And I realized that I don't want to say I have a knack for it. I don't want to say cocky about it, but I have a knack for describing vividly how you should look at something before you go about it. And like one of the things we always do with our new trainees and our new apprentices, whatever, is run down the list of things in your mind before you ever unlock the enclosure. And it's like, okay, first things first, where's the animal? Is it here? Is it there? Is it there? Is it there? Okay, if I do this, it's going to do that. If I do this, it's going to do that. And I have no idea what it's going to do. It could friggin' sit there like a bump on a log. But at least I'm thinking about all the things that could happen.
It's like so defensive driving.
Right, exactly. It's
exactly.
Expect that guy in the median to pull out in front of you. Like prepare yourself because you know just.
Isn't it interesting how different people look at different things? Say that for me, the first thing you do is even the assessment on how you walk into the building.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you're correct, 100%. So
this is the problem, right? So you're going to articulate a step or a series of steps, all right, on how to put a cobra into a fucking tube, right? And that's fine. That's fine. But there's been 20 steps that you've taken almost subconsciously before you've even arrived at even thinking about putting that cobra in a tube.
Yes.
That is the difference between teaching somebody properly and teaching somebody an action. Anyone can teach anyone an action. The problem is, and this is where the whole mentorship thing needs to happen, is where you need to teach them that stuff that they don't even realize, or we don't even realize is actually steps to take in the first place.
Right.
All right.
And you're 100% correct.
You're keeping venomous or not, it doesn't matter. You're keeping animals. You keep animals. You approach that room in a certain way. You're looking for certain things. I don't know about you, but the first thing I do when I go into a room is I actually scan the room and I'm looking for anything that's out of place.
Oh, I mean, we go a step further, like especially if you've got stuff that's marginally arboreal. We go a step further where you're going to unlock the door. You're going to open the door with a hook or with a tool. Open it up. If the lights are off, you have to have a torch in your hand, or you have to have easy access where you can use the hook or tongs or whatever to open the light switch. You're going to look in the room and you're going to look above your head because you don't want to have an angusticeps sitting on that door lip above your head when you open the door.
I'd love to have an angusticeps on But in all seriousness, okay. At the same time, my room, right, to go into my room, there is you look into an airlock, right? When you walk into that airlock, there's windows on the outside that look into the venomous room or look into the quarantine room, right? So before you're even stepping into the room, you're looking through the windows, right, to make sure that the shit is safe in the first step, right? We've got a full set of handling gear on the outside in that holding area ready to go. So if you have to go in there and there's a problem, you're already sorted out. The light switches for those rooms is on the outside in that holding area before you walk in. So that's sort of what people should have when it comes to venomous. The problem is that people don't do that. They go, oh, it'll be all right. I'll put it in a fucking enclosure. I'll put a fucking cabinet lock on it that everybody's got a key to because all those things are keys is exactly the same anyway, right?
Yeah.
And You're not. And they go, oh, yeah, I'm doing it safely because they get a hook out or whatever. Well, you're not doing it safely because you've got a venomous snake out with somebody else in the room.
Yeah.
How the hell do you know what the capabilities of those people are? At the end of the day, I've got 4 other people here in front of me, 4 people that have got various experiences with venomous snakes. I don't fucking know from virus soap. There's no way I'll be getting a venomous snake out with you guys in the room until I've seen you manage them first, or until you've run through and actually done an induction with me first. It's just how it is, and I'd expect exactly the same from you guys. I wouldn't expect to walk into your venomous room without having to go through some sort of fucking process first, because that's what a professional venomous keeper or a professional keeper is.
Yeah,
I couldn't handle my scrub python.
Sorry?
I said Scott couldn't handle my scrub python.
You mean the one that took you an hour and a half to put in the bag?
Yeah, that one.
Thank you, Paul.
Forgot that you were even there when that happened, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Fucking wild Stogies are friendly anyway, so, you know.
Paul and I are sitting there looking at each other like, just put it in the bag, bro. Just put it in the bag.
Yeah.
It's not going to
Grab it. Just grab it. It's a snake.
It was
it's
different.
Fine. No,
Dude,
why was it?
Cody, welcome to the party, pal.
Hey,
Cody!
hey guys, it was random, and I'm happy to be here.
G'day, Cody.
Hey
Scott
Scott,
from the future.
good to see you face to face digitally. You know, I agree with what you were saying before as I was hopping on about hopping into somebody else's collection and not knowing those animals and you or people around your animals, so you make sure that they understand them first. You know, like I'm not, even though I have experience with venomous reptiles, I'm not going to go into your collection and start messing with your taipans and brown snakes like I know those individuals. I want to see you do it first, and I want to know those animals' individual personalities and intricacies amongst the individuals before I get into it. I mean, I could figure it out on my own, but if you're in somebody else's collection or something like that, you know, you want to learn those animals first before you start messing around with them.
Oh,
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. The other thing, too, is just to play devil's advocate with Scott, because every single thing that Scott said, I agree with 150%. The problem, too, is that, Scott, you may unknowingly be a little spoiled because you have a legitimate facility with those external amenities. While as someone like myself, I live in an apartment. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I can't cut a hole in my door and put a window. I can't do that. So, like, I have to work with the things that I have. But that doesn't mean that the people that are learning from me or learning from others, they should hear that and they should know that. And if they have the ability to produce those external amenities, then fuck yeah, rock and roll.
Yeah, but Phil, there's still ways that you can do it based on your facility to be just as safe as Scott can do it, or as Cody can do it, or Justin or myself. You just have to have a protocol in place that's safe. You know, yes. I've learned in the last 2 years, I've learned so much from Cody and from Pia. It's been amazing. It's been great. And at the end of the day, the most important thing to me is safety. You know, I have a wife, I have kids. I've always said that I wanted venomous, but I wanted my kids to be old enough to understand this just isn't a ball python. This can kill you. You know, so at the end of the day, you have to have those protocols in place to make sure that everybody is doing the right thing. And then you have to police it. You know, I can say there was a time when I was pulling one of the, I think it was one of the reg calls out, and Pia walked through and I didn't have glasses on. And she was like, hey, what are you doing? You know, it's like, oh, I wasn't even thinking about it. But it's something that you have to go through over and over in your mind. Even though I know or knew all those animals and how they acted and what they did, it doesn't mean that something bad could happen, you know, when you least expect it. So
and totally. And
don't you know
sorry.
that if their hood's closed?
Yeah.
Sorry, Phil. I'm going to talk really fast. I wanted to add to that. So I was there, but I was outside working the rat barn or something, as you guys know who have been here. That usually I'm on rat barn duty. But so Paul was working the collection. Pia walked in. Paul didn't have his glasses on when he was working these ring call spitters, and majority of the time they don't do anything hood or spray venom or anything. So I mean, he was fine, but they obviously could, and you want to wear safety protection just in case they do. So I didn't know about that till later, where Pia told me and said, "Oh, I saw Paul wasn't wearing glasses, so I told him I hope I wasn't being a bitch." And I said, "No, like we got to police each other and all of that stuff, you know." And it you'd be a bitch not telling Paul that he didn't have his glasses on, right? So she did, and Paul came up to me saying, "I don't know if Pia told you, but I feel really, bad or whatever." Then I was telling him about a story where my goggles weren't on. I'm like, "Listen, like Pia will get on you, and as she should, but I'm also one that's not going to get too upset because I've been there, done that, made those mistakes, and one of them was not too long ago where I was going through the collection and I had a Philippine cobra, which is a spitting cobra, in a holding can, had my glasses on while it went into the holding can, did all the stuff, and I put my glasses on top of my head while I was cleaning out the enclosure and all of that stuff. And yeah, it's good to wear them while you're doing the enclosure because venom particles can get in your eyes and blah blah blah, right? But we're in Florida, so the goggles are fogging up and I can't see, so they go on top of my head. Well, anyway, I forget that what I'm working is a Philippine spitting cobra, and I have my goggles on my head, right? Like they're already halfway there, they're ready to go, and I'm about to put this snake back into her enclosure. And I pop the lid off, and this is a snake that hardly ever, like, that will bite you given the opportunity 100%. If you give her an opportunity, she's gonna nail you. Yeah, not so much on the spitting thing though, right? So I pop off the lid, and I got my glasses on my damn head, and I go to open the thing up. I forget to put my goggles down, and that snake blasts me right in the face, right? And somehow missed my eyes. Like your African cobras have a little bit more of a precise stream of venom into the face, where Asiatic cobras that are spitters are more of a sneeze, maybe about four-ish feet is their trajectory, right? So she basically sneezed venom into my face. And I didn't have glasses on, and somehow got everywhere but my eyes. So I put the lid back on and rinsed my face off, and it ended up being no big deal. It could have been, but when Paul was like, "I didn't have my glasses on," I'm like, "Yeah, no, it's one of those things where you got to police yourself too." But I can't be like, "Oh, you didn't wear your goggles," because I had mine on my head and I didn't put them down. So it happened.
Yeah, but that's the Swiss cheese thing, though, Cody. We all make mistakes. We all do things that we shouldn't do, right? And for any of us to say that we haven't put ourselves in a risky situation, that's rubbish. We all do it. Okay, but at the same time, it's the Swiss cheese, right? So if you get enough holes that line up in that Swiss cheese, you're going to end up getting a fucking bite, okay? Yeah. Or you're going to end up being envenomated, or you're going to get fucking sprayed in the face. That's what eventually happens. Most of the time, those holes don't line up and you can't see all the way through and you don't get a bite, okay? At the same time, Paul, mate, you ought to be commended if you turn around and you go to your mentor going, "Oh, shit, hey, I fucked up," right? Yeah, you've been honest about it. You've maintained your integrity, and so often in this hobby we see people that lose their integrity for whatever reason. They don't want to tell people that, hey, they made a mistake. I'm not going to sit here and say that I've never free handled. I'm not going to sit here and say that I've never got a bite. Right? I've never got a bite through my own mistake. Every time I've gotten a bite from a snake, it's been through my own fuck up.
Oh, of course.
Right? You've got to own that too, and you've got to explain it. And, you talked about before, somebody going through, "Oh, yeah, it's not that bad." Well, I used to think it's not that bad to deal with bites from mildly venomous snakes or juvenile, dangerously venomous snakes. I was like, she'll be right. It's okay. And then I go into anaphylaxis from a fucking snake bite. And it's one thing to get a bite. It's another thing to go through fucking anaphylaxis. And I'll tell you now, that is what separates men from the fucking boys. That is the scariest single thing to ever happen to you. until you have an anaphylactic reaction to a snake venom. Because at the end of the day, anti-venom ain't bringing you back from an anaphylactic shot.
Yeah.
Will not bring you back. You're dead in 5 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough as much as, you know, I mean, I lived an hour away from Cody and I was there every Saturday or every Sunday or sometimes both days. And, you know, you work your ass off. How many times did we spend, you know, 10 hours a day doing stuff? And there's times that I would go and after 3 or 4 hours, I'm like, you know what, Cody, I'm just not feeling this. Like, I don't feel right. I got to stop because I know my limitations and I'm not going to take that chance and do something that's detrimental to not only myself, but to them.
And that's what I really admired about Paul too, is he would say when he, you know, we always preach it like, hey, if you're not feeling good, if you're not feeling into it, just stop. You know, and a lot of the times as venomous keepers, we all know that we push through those. Oh, I'm not feeling it, but snake's got to get clean. You got to do it. Maybe I'm not in the best, you know, mindset. Maybe I'm frustrated about something. That is really a bad time to work venomous. Yeah. And I've definitely done it, you know, against my better judgment. But Paul's like, I'm not feeling it. And I'm like, good. You're not feeling it. You don't do it, you know? And I appreciate the fact that he would speak up and say, I'm not feeling like good enough to work these animals because these animals are alert, fast animals that are paying attention to what I'm doing. And I'm not at the level of comprehension to keep up with these elapids or whatever. It's how it should be.
Yeah.
How often do you guys drink?
What's that?
How often do you guys drink? Who drinks alcohol out of this group?
All of us.
Really?
Never when I'm going to or possibly could be doing snake stuff. Even if it's hard.
This is the problem, right? That possibly could be is what fucks me, and that's why I don't drink.
Yep.
Yeah,
no. Any time in the next fucking 10 minutes, I can get a phone call and say, hey, I need to go pull an eastern brown snake out of somebody's house. Or I've walked into the snake room and gone, fuck, that type bear's got a retained shed. Okay, I've got to deal with it. Right? So I've basically made the choice that I'm not going to drink alcohol because I have to deal with venomous snakes.
But at the same time, to use myself as an example, I don't catch snakes like that. I don't get those phone calls, and at the same time, I don't have as big a collection as you to the point where if I happen to, first of all, I'm not even going to go in the room if I've been drinking. That's just the first thing. And if I, for whatever reason, I did because I needed to get a broom or something, I'm going to be like, oh, look at that stuck shed. Guess what? It's happening tomorrow night because I want it to be completely out of my system, not because of my impaired judgment or my impaired reflexes, but because I have alcohol in my blood still after so many hours, 10 hours, 12 hours. Now I'm going to complicate, God forbid, a bite with the blood alcohol content that people don't even think about. You're sober as a jaybird, but you still have that in your blood. So I don't.
I only drink at Daytona.
Yeah, only drink at Daytona, right?
Yeah. But I suppose this is the point, right? And that's the point that I'm making is that most venomous keepers still drink. And I don't understand how you can be a responsible venomous keeper and drink unless you're going to say, right, okay, I'm not going to fucking deal with snakes all the time.
Yeah.
And some people are like that, but a lot of people are also like, you know what? I can change that water bowl. I can do this. I can do that. And that's where shit goes sideways.
Yeah,
well,
absolutely.
I'm gonna tip my hat off that I'm not wearing to you, Scott, for being from Australia and not drinking, because I know a lot of Aussies and you guys are party animals down there. So good on you, Mike, on that one.
Mate, trust me, I'm the weird one. But it works out well because it means I get to drive. So, you know, it doesn't matter. It doesn't really worry me too much at the end of the day, you know. I'm pretty hot. Anyway, I can have a good time without fucking drinking.
That's awesome. I appreciate that.
He's the guy that harasses all the drunks.
Fuck yeah.
One of my other Australian buddies who is a veterinarian out there, Shane Simpson. And he's not a drinker either. So I've been to a few vet conferences with him and a few other Aussies that have come down. Joshua Linnaeus, who's not a technical Aussie, moved from, maybe he was from New York or something, but comes down with Shane to all the vet conferences. He's a drinker, so we put down a few, but Shane doesn't. But he hangs to the very end, 3-4 a.m. And I'm just like, dude, how are you hanging out here with all these idiots and you're not drinking and you're just here? Like, how do you do it? You know, but he does it, and I respect him.
You just feed off people's enthusiasm. Yeah, and the thing is, I know Josh pretty well. Josh is in the UQ Herp Society like I am as well. And, alcohol doesn't need to be the end game for everything, And I'm not against it. Don't get me wrong. I love a drink every now and then, but I basically, because I'm always dealing with shit, I just don't end up drinking. So
that's very respectable. It's very respectable.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pull out I just saw the comment from Tim Morris that says I'm lame and Paul's better. I'm not.
I love you, Tim.
I'm not disagreeing with the comment. I think it's funny. Sorry, I was supposed to be on a New Year's Zoom with Tim and the whole crew, James and Andy Middleton and everything, and we were building croc fencing, so we were not able to jump on. So I apologize for that. We will catch up very soon. I wasn't even supposed to do this, but it was just some commenting. Scott was like, "Oh, I'll jump on," and I'm like, "Well, if he does, I will too." And he did, so I had to put my money where my mouth is. So
peer
I was
pressure
laying in
is
bed
a
winding
bitch.
down.
Well,
right?
I've got to keep moving, guys. I've actually got to go do some fucking work. So I'll leave you with it. Hey, great to talk to you. Great to finally digitally meet you, Paul and Cody.
Yeah, nice to meet you, Scott.
Yeah, pleasure. We got to do one of these things. Get Scott on, and we'll do a whole thing, talk all Venomous, and it'll be fun. Yeah,
absolutely.
100%, guys.
Yep. Talk to you later, Scott.
I'm super lame. I'm super lame. Thank you, Tim. Thank you very much. Look at this. Look at this solid old fashioned. I even got a giant ice cube in there. Just how it's Pia got me these giant ice cube makers for old fashions specifically, nice. And I'm very appreciative.
Tell me you're using black cherries.
No. Tell me about this black cherry.
It's not that old fashioned.
Black cherry is the only way to make an old fashioned.
Okay.
Black cherry
about
true bitters. Not that weird ass shit they sell in the grocery store. True
What
bitters.
is this weird ass Oregon Trail shit you're on right now?
Look, man, you got to make an old fashioned. You got to do it right.
You got to use the root of the elderberry and.
Oh my god, I hate you so much.
I'm literally doing so it's a sugar cube bitters, orange peel, and
Tim, I love you.
It's a Google recipe. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm not that old fashioned.
It's just a fashioned. It's not an old fashioned.
It's a fashioned. It's Cody fashioned.
First of all, I commend you for the bourbon and I commend you for the sugar cube. Tip top, I love it. Just when the next time you go to the grocery store, look for black cherries, and it will make things just a little bit better.
What do you do? What do you put the black cherries in there? You squeeze them in there?
Yeah.
What do you?
Yeah. Are you muddling it or no?
Muddling?
He's not a bartender, damn it.
With a mortar and pestle, you know.
You gotta crush them, smash them.
Do you have to say some Wiccan spell before you?
Testicles of a new. I have a raven. Testicles of a
You have to be holding your crystals in your hand and burning some sage in the other.
Austin Warwick, no soup for you.
I mean,
no soup for you.
Derek came over the other day. He made some old fashions. He told me what was up. I just did what Derek says. So whatever you're gonna make fun of me about, bring it back to Derek because he was the one.
No, first of all, Derek is not old enough to drink. That's the first thing. Okay. Derek is what is Derek? Like 12, 15?
I don't know, but he's actually he's a whiskey, bourbon, liquor connoisseur. I wouldn't age ain't but a number with Derek. I would say he's an appreciative
cowboy. Yeah, he's a cowboy. He is. God bless him. So no, I'm just saying you're doing it right. The sugar cube was good. What bourbon are you using? Let's go there.
Oh God.
Oh God! You know what? We don't even have to go what kind of bourbon it is because
Admiral Nelson.
No, I don't even know what that is. But it's a bourbon, and I'm not. My claim to fame is not my bourbon and whiskey knowledge. I'm not a bartender like Justin said.
Is it Costco? Is it Costco?
The what?
Is it Costco? Like Costco liquor?
No, it's not Costco.
Gotta get the Costco bourbon. Gotta get the Costco bourbon. That shit is tip top.
Yeah.
You're gonna sit there and talk all that shit about using the cherries and all the other
stuff, and then you're
gonna sit there and say Costco bourbon.
Because the Costco bourbon is actually, I believe, Knob Creek in a Costco bottle. Same thing with the vodka. Same thing with the rum. That big giant bottle that you get, it's actually name brand just in a Costco bottle.
Yep.
So here's the thing.
Of course, Tim's going to drink the
Phil.
Of course,
Phil, right? What's your name, Phil? Phil. Here's the thing, Phil.
Happy Van Winkle.
Look, man, that's the best bourbon in the world. I don't care what it says.
Listen, I'm a nightly drinker at the end of the day, so I'm not trying to go for the most expensive bourbon because I need that stuff to be cost effective. So I was talking to the guy at the liquor store. Listen, I'm not claiming to be a bourbon connoisseur. I'm doing the tried and true, very easy Evan Williams. Make fun of me however you want, but it's.
Is that you?
I don't know what that is.
Did I win? Did I win? Did I win the bourbon choice? It sounded like one of the sounded like one of those fishbowl games that you play when you have nothing better to do with your life in one of those internet cafes.
That's just Paul fucking with his Neopets.
Come on, man! I'm searching for Pokemons.
Did you? Just caught one in the kitchen.
And look,
there's one on the stairwell right behind you.
The cricket.
Hey, there's Andrew hanging out in the staircase.
And Cody, I'm not breaking your balls, man. I'm commending you for legit doing old fashioned, and Derek and you are doing it right, man. I'm just saying that if you go to get those black cherries, it'll just make it a little nicer, just a little bit. And by the way, Tim Morris, you are the man, because Pappy Van Winkle is the greatest bourbon of anything in the world. I don't care what people say. And I hope that Tim is drinking the 18 and not the 22. Because for those of you who are listening who actually like bourbon, the 18 is the best Pappy Van Winkle because they start an 18 in a 15-year cask. And that's the way you do it.
I'm sorry that I can't stop giggling when you say the name. What is it? Rob Van Winkle?
Pappy Van
Winkle.
Pappy.
Pappy.
He's homemade. Pappy.
Tim Morris brought over when he came. I don't know if it was the last Daytona or whenever. It was probably the Daytona before the COVID stuff. He brought over some gin, and James was here, and we made some gin and tonics. And Tim got me smashed, man. I'm talking. We downed a whole bottle of this gin, and it was like 2 days before Daytona, and we were hungover before we got into Daytona. Like, that's the time where you're supposed to be. And our pre-party went harder than the actual party. It was pretty intense.
Yeah, I remember that.
Hey, Tim, if you're still watching, what was the gin? I want to know.
I probably have the bottle still sitting on top of the refrigerator.
It probably is.
Yeah, you've got a lot of bottles up there, dude.
It's somewhere along the top of the kitchen wall there. It's up there.
Yeah.
Damn, I wish I had ingredients because now I kind of want an old fashioned.
I'm telling you, and this is number 4. I'm feeling pretty good. We got the Paul. We got the perimeter fence, doors framed up, wire on them.
Awesome.
Door jam all set in place. We're gonna hang the doors tomorrow. So for Justin,
good deal.
We're in the process of doing our outdoor croc enclosures, and
so
we just did. What's that?
Which species?
Well, we're building enclosures with not necessarily animals in mind yet. We're building the enclosures first. We do have some animals that are supposed, like we're supposed to get some animals on breeding exhibit loan in early spring, right after the cold front. We're playing around with our pools right now and making sure water temperature is good and stuff during, these 20, 30 degree nights. But one of the species we're really excited to work with here, and I worked with them before at the alligator farm. I'm in charge of slender-snouted crocodiles, the Megastops cataphractus. Went to Africa for 3 weeks while I was working at the alligator farm to go to the Abidjan Zoo in West Africa and help teach their croc keepers how to rear baby cataphractus for reintroduction into the wild, because they have the largest population of captive cataphractus in the world, being in West Africa where the animals are. Around 25 individuals. San Diego Zoo Global's involved in this initiative. New Mexico, the Albuquerque Biopark is involved. St. Augustine Alligator Farm's involved with Matt Shirley, who is one of the leading crocodilian biologists out there. What's Tim Morris saying?
He said a place for James to sleep.
Oh, I've got some good photos of James laying on the floor during Daytona Passed Out. It was a good time, but yeah. So Matt Shirley, he's freaking awesome. He's a good friend. We met through the alligator farm, but he's the one responsible for separating out the Nile crocodiles into two different full species. So your Western Nile croc, the Crocodylus sucus, and your Eastern Nile croc, your traditional Nile croc, the big man-eaters that everybody's come to know and love, eating zebras and wildebeest. That's Crocodylus niloticus. Matt Shirley did the work to separate those animals out, as well as proving out that there are two separate species of slender-snouted crocodiles. I hate you so much, Paul.
That was September. I love you, Cody.
You mean September, like there's a whole calendar?
Oh, I have a whole calendar.
Yes. That would be a Southeast Carpet Fest auction item.
Yeah, we can make a poster. That
would be awesome. One of a kind, one in existence.
I'm gonna be pissed.
Yeah,
a full 12-month calendar of different pinups of Cody, whether they're superimposed or not, and that needs to be a Southeast Carpet Fest auction item.
That would be perfect.
Paul's already working on it, I'm sure.
Yep.
Hey,
the wheels are turning.
You should show him some of the ones with Derek and Daniel.
Oh
yeah. We need to see that.
So anyway, going back to cataphractus, I've got a pretty good background with that species, and I'm really happy that I had the chance to go to Africa with Matt Shirley and the farm and doing all that stuff with those animals. But we're going to be getting an adult pair of cataphractus, supposedly. Like, I'm kind of letting the cat out of the bag early, but if everything goes well, what's going on here?
Oh my God! Oh.
Yeah, those guys are going to be real upset about that one. Yeah, going on.
Hey, at least they're watching the show.
You got to let that focus. Yeah, there's Daniel up there. There's Derek. Let's get those things higher up on Derek. Yeah, you got to see Derek's face. He's doing a thumbs up there. Go a little higher, Paul. Yeah, see if you could get that focused in there. Can you focus Derek's face? We got to make. Yeah. Oh,
there you go.
There he is. Look at him. Look at him. Thumbs of approval. Look at Derek. Look at that stud. God, he's going to hate us.
Yes,
he is. But
wait, does everybody want to see Geo?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Geo's is the best one. Get that in focus.
Oh my God.
So everybody, interns at our facility, let's just say that's all Paul's artwork. So, we got Clayton saying he's going to buy the calendar. Oh, there's Derek, Derek and Daniel. And Justin cuts off the live feed. We're done. We're done.
That's it.
How many of these do you have? Jesus.
There's too many. Too many.
I think I'm just seeing that Paul has too much time on his hands.
He's got an easygoing job. He's got an easygoing
Yes, I
job.
do. I love it.
So that was great, Paul. That was very good. So the cataphractus, we'll go full story with that. We're actually getting some Morlet's crocodiles from Dallas World Aquarium before the 21st of this month. So you heard Paul earlier talking about our what is
That's my crazy child.
Is that Nora? Hey Nora. Hey
Yeah.
Nora.
Cody said hi.
Hi, Cody.
Hey, how's
She
it
said
going?
she said hi.
I gotta go
Is that
check the
Anna?
freaking mail.
Yeah.
Hi Anna.
I already did check them out.
Did you?
So back to the Dallas World Aquarium. That's coming in on the 21st.
Well, so we were talking about our import permits that we have to file here in Florida.
Phil, import permits.
Yeah. So we did the import.
Do they make that all class 2 import or no?
Class 1 imports.
Okay. So, that's right. Okay.
Yeah, because the Morlets are class 1.
Okay.
So for everybody that's watching this, it's not. Paul, are you gonna tame the beasts?
Yeah, you got to mute that, Paul. There you go. Sorry, Cody.
Yeah, sorry about.
It's like all silent while Paul yells at him.
Paul says, "Hey, shut up."
Yeah.
I'm getting flipped off right now.
He's like I'm trying to do an interview here, guys.
It's like we're professional on this podcast.
Paul, pick up your fucking skateboard.
Wow.
Mom, the meatloaf. We want it now.
All right. So let's go back. All right, Morlets, right? Morlets. You're importing Morlets.
Morlets. So they're coming from Dallas World Aquarium in Texas, but in Florida, for all the people who are not familiar, in Florida, any non-native species coming into the state, you have to apply for an import permit, whether it's a green tree python, a venomous reptile, crocodilian, or whatever. If it's non-native, it needs to have the Florida import permit. And then they're going Paul yelling at everybody right now on mute. You just can't understand why this is even happening right now.
Now, real quick, if I can pick your brain, because you do this a hell of a lot more than I do. Now, you're saying for all exotic animals in general, does that mean that if I buy a ball python as a consumer on Morph Market from Pennsylvania and they mail it to my house, does that mean that I had to file that license, or only class 3 holders?
No, that actually, if you are bringing in any non-native animal, is how it reads on the website, it's a no-cost permit. So you just have to fill out what it is, where it's coming from, the mode of transport, who's the transporter. Are you the transporter? Are you bringing it down? Your name. If somebody else is bringing it down, their name. If it's an animal that's venomous or crocodilia, they have to have a Florida permit for crocodilia or venomous to bring it down. Now, if it's a class 3, like a ball python, they don't need to bring it down if you paid for it and it's coming down, but you would have to list the transporter. This is something you have to do. It's not made specifically clear, and every inspector has their own interpretation of how this law is actually read. And I had not known of it for a long time until I did know of it. So now we're making sure we're filling out this. When we know an animal is coming in advance, we're filling it out. Nick Gordon from the Abronia Alliance was down here and brought us some Abronia Vance Gonzalowski, and we had to list those under the Florida import permit because I wanted to make, especially with all the Abronia stuff going on, smuggled animals, I wanted a paper trail on those animals coming in, that those were legitimate captive born coming in here. So just to cover my own ass for an animal that most people aren't even thinking about as far as regulations go. But so for like the Morlet's crocodiles, I'm aware that they're coming in. I know how many specimens we're getting. So I pre-applied for the permit. It took probably about a week, and I got the email back saying your Florida import permit for these species has been approved. And I listed the because they're coming air freight or whatever, so I listed that, the whatever airlines it's coming in on and all of that stuff. So we're good to go. But the permit expires in 45 days. And in that case, you just refill out everything and then you do it again. No, they don't. There's not a lot of follow-up after that. They don't call you up and say, hey, did you get those animals in? Did you reapply? It's just kind of like fill it out, put it in, bring it in. And if it goes past the date where, it's expired and you don't have the animals yet, you just refill out the permit. And as long as you're good on every other end of stuff, they're going to approve the license.
Yeah, and that's really reassuring, and it's very cool to do the whole paper trail thing, and that's awesome. My only thing is before you jumped on, we were talking about asinine regulations. So some kid who's 16 on Instagram sees a tangerine leopard gecko and says, "Mom, I really want to buy this. Can you buy it for me?" Mom says, "Sure. You've been a good kid. I'm going to get you a pet lizard," and she buys it from some guy on Morph Market or King Snake or the person's private website. They never fill out anything, and FedEx drops it off at their house, live animal arrival. Right. Now that person is 99.999% of the animal keepers in Florida.
Correct.
What happens there? How long? Like, are they going to get in trouble?
Well, so the answer is potentially. If for whatever reason that box is flagged, now any animals coming into Florida, venomous or non, have to be labeled. Have to be labeled on the outside of the box. That common and scientific name, number, animals in the box. Let's say there's a box that comes in that's clearly some sort of animal. There's no labeling on it, and they have to open it up and see what it is. Oh, it's a ball python or a leopard gecko going to this person. Oh, did they file an import permit? Oh, no, they didn't. If Fish and Wildlife wanted to take it to that level, they certainly could. Now, if they had a business with snakes or a hobby business, like in Florida, if you've got a bunch of ball pythons and you're breeding and selling, you need to have a class 3 to sell. And if you're trading animals, and a lot of people don't know this, and I'm talking to people that have these animals, they have no idea. If you and me, Phil, we're ball python breeders, we're rolling in the money and stuff, and we're doing our ball python thing.
Piebalds for everyone.
Yeah, and we're about to swap some snakes, but you don't have a class 3, but I do. I'm in violation of doing that transaction. You're in violation for not having the class 3. I'm in violation for doing that transaction with you with knowing you don't have the class 3. And you could find now. I don't know how much hot water it's going to be. Is it a slap on the wrist? I guess it depends on the prosecutor.
Yeah. Well, like, for example, there was a whole big thing down by me where Fish and Wildlife basically paid some kids. Of course, it was a tegu when they did it, but they paid some kids to be informants for Fish and Wildlife, and they gave them a 5-foot Argentine black and white tegu that was puppy dog tame. It was somebody's pet. And they said, "Here, we want you to go to this shop, this shop, this shop, this shop, this shop, and try and sell it to them." And say, and if they ask you, "Oh, do you have a class 3 permit?" Say, "No, I don't," and see what they do. And of the 15 or 16 places, only like 2 or 3 bought it from them. And those were shops that I don't know what happened to them. I don't know if they got a slap on the wrist. I don't know if they got shut down. I have no idea. But the majority of the people, at least in my neck of the woods, they were, hip to it, so to speak. Kind of odd that these 2 kids they've never seen before, they're not regulars. They just automatically want to sell this big animal. The first inclination was, well, it's probably stolen. Let's try and get a scan for a microchip or something, somebody's pet. And I understand the concept of it, but it's also kind of fucked up. You know what I mean? Especially since people don't know the law because it's not published appropriately.
Entrapment.
Yeah, that's tough. I mean, it's a lot of, like we talked about with the import permits. Think about this. Like I said, pet stores are bringing all these non-native animals in, and they're not filling those import permits out. There's no way. So but you're supposed to be doing it. And what are the odds that, little Billy Smith's mom is going to get in trouble for bringing a leopard gecko in or a bearded dragon? Probably slim and none. Yeah, but it's still technically there. And the ones that they're going to beat up are us, and it's.
Yeah. And I actually got an interesting story about that I just remembered right now. I had a acquaintance, I won't call him a friend, but an acquaintance who got his CSP when things were kosher and easy. And he had a retic that he didn't want anymore. So he sold it to another CSP holder in Tampa. It's a 3-hour drive. Neither one of the guys wanted to drive. So he's like, "Listen, I'll just pay for the shipping, throw it in a FedEx box, and ship it to me. We're both CSP holders. We're good to go, right? The FedEx hub is in Tennessee. So somehow Fish and Wildlife found out that box left South Florida, went to Tennessee, and then re-entered Florida. So the guy in Tampa, he got slapped with the non-importation. And then the guy by me in South Florida, he got both. He got non-importation because it was his FedEx purchase that brought it back into the state. And at the same time, I guess there was something else involved. But just the fact that they were trying to do it legitimately and they still fucked them. That's not cool.
Yeah.
That's
not surprising.
That's semantics on a whole nother level.
Yeah.
How about another one? I got a friend, and I openly admitted to this to cover my ass, basically. I had a friend out of state where had Boiga, where he was like, dude, I don't want the snake anymore. You want it? And I was like, yeah, sure, send it to me. He sent it to me. Well, I got it as a gift. He just mailed it to me. Now, I'm okay to have Boiga in the state of Florida. I have a license for it. Fish and Wildlife said, hey, you have this Boiga. It wasn't on your list. You know, what's up with that? Would you just buy it? I was like, no, my friend in PA just mailed it to me. And they were like, oh, well, where's your bill of sale? I said, I don't have a bill of sale. He gave it to me. He goes, we got to have a gift receipt. So I get, me and my friend, we swap snakes all the time. Venomous, non-venomous, you know what I mean? So like now I have to have gift receipts for everything? That's crazy. I'm going to do it because they asked me to do it. But like, it's little things like that. That's like the sole purpose of that is to screw you.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. I mean, and my previous inspector had a different interpretation of it. That is, if it was shipped to you, that you didn't need to have the importation license, and if you were driving it into the state or if it was being driven in, it had to be. Which that's what he said. But if you read on the regs on myfwc.org. It says any non-native wildlife, imported to Florida. It doesn't say the mode of transport, whether it's shipping or whatever. You have to have it. So it's really and they weren't really enforcing, because every year we have to submit all of our inventory and all that. That you got to fill out all your stuff, and every year I would do that, and I'd have no problems with inspections and all that. And I would say most of our collection. And I'm going on a public thing saying that doesn't have a Florida import permit to it because they were shipped out of state. But my investigator at that time was saying, if they're being shipped in, you don't need that. So and they have the ability to make those kind of judgment calls, and it would ultimately fall back on them too, saying, hey, well, this is what my guy told me, and I was following what my guy told me, and all that stuff. But now that I'm a little bit more aware, like really, I feel like at this point, I'm a little bit more in the know on these laws than the actual agencies that are enforcing them, because everybody's got a different interpretation of the law. And the way that I interpret the law is common sense. How would a judge interpret this? And now I go with that. It's like, I'm not looking for a gray area. It's like cut and dry, black and white. What is a judge going to say? And how are they? Oh, is this what it says? That's what it says. That's what you like it or not. If we want to keep doing it and stuff, we got to go by the book. And and when we stop doing that, it's already bad enough as it is. It's like, we don't want to make it worse. And that goes back to all the free handling BS and all of that stuff. It's just like there was not a law against texting and driving at one point. Then there was enough accidents where there had to be a law on texting and driving. That was a Paul quote, when we were having a conversation a long time ago. So that's a really, really good point. And now because of social media, YouTube and stuff, now people could see a lot more of regular people than we got to see in previous past. And so, and Pia always says the empty barrels make the loudest noise. A lot of these guys that have the biggest following are the ones that are hooting and hollering the most. And they're really not necessarily the shining star examples of who you should be following in this. And a lot of the people that you should be following really aren't out there because they just don't want to be a part of the BS. Like Kristen Wiley from Kentucky Reptile Zoo and Jim Harrison. Kristen Wiley puts out a ton of content all over every Venomous platform. You see them. They put it on there. It's very safe, it's very professional, and it's boring. And that's why like Kristen and Jim should have the views of some of these other guys, but they don't, because it's non-sensationalized and they're very professional. And when I was having dinner it was right after the Venomous Herpetological Symposium in Miami and Rattlesnake Conservancy put on, and we went out to dinner. It was a fucking awesome dinner. It was Carl Barden, Mara, Ray Morgan, Jeff Bob, and a few other people there. It was a really good crowd of people. Venom Interviews, if you haven't seen it, literally the best documentary. That's how I'd say it if I was European. Documentary.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Venomous reptile. It touches on husbandry. It touches on handling. It touches on laws. It's literally the best thing for Venomous that we've got right now. Anybody needs to watch that versus any of these sensationalistic handlers on YouTube and stuff. That is the thing.
This
to watch.
is the table of contents. I mean, it's like 5 hours long. Longer than that. It's actually almost like 6 if you count the bonus stuff.
And I've watched it all multiple times, including the bonus stuff.
Yeah, I need to watch it again.
It's fantastic. But Jeff Fobb, when we were at that dinner, he said venomous reptile handling should be boring. That's how it should feel when you're doing it. And that's how I feel like it is when I'm working these animals, because it's mundane, from an enclosure to a holding can, back to a thing. If you got to ship some stuff out into a bag or whatever you got to do. But it's never dramatic. It's, we had to do an ultrasound on a black mamba for eggs and stuff, and we put her in a Uplex, and we did an ultrasound. We did a Patreon video on the whole thing. You've seen, Justin, and it, very smooth, very very non-dramatic. It wasn't just the mamba wasn't flinging all over the place. It was boring. And like Jeff said, venomous handling when done right should be boring. And when Kristen Wiley and those guys put out videos, it's like, oh, here's a cobra doing nothing. Here's this. Like even Jim pinning stuff to extract from it. It's not dramatic. He's just going through the day-to-day routine. It's not sexy. It's not like, hey, look at me. Oh, look at this. Look what I can do. It's not about them. It's about the bigger purpose. And for how much Kristen posts at all the social media platforms, they're not a fraction of the views and stuff that these other guys get. It's not the way it should be. But we always say, too, when we're doing our videos and stuff, we put all of our videos on Patreon, because we want the people that are fans of what we're doing and that are professionals that want to see that we want them to come to us. We don't want to just put the stuff out public so people could critique, and you have trollers and like people saying, oh, you're not, whatever and stuff like that. We made the Orinoco video public because we got those animals from Gladys Porter Zoo, and we wanted to give them a plug where everybody could see what was going on. So we made that one public. But the majority of the videos that we have, we're not trying to be YouTubers. We're just filming what we're doing. And if you want to come and check it out, that's great. If not, like it's not like we're trying to get rich, showing off this stuff, And but proper handling, it's like, to me, I think it's like when you've got two snakes on a hook, or you got a snake on two hooks, and you're guiding it in out of an enclosure into a can. That's skill. When you have a snake in your hand, it's like, yeah, you could read their behaviors to some extent. Again, like you said, or Scott was saying earlier, it's like, yeah, I've had less than my admirable handling techniques back in the younger days and things like that. But it wasn't to glorify the handling, and I've done stupid. I think we all have. But it's like in this new era where everybody's watching us, if we really value keeping these animals and we value other people's ability to keep them, just don't do that stuff on camera. It's not helping anybody. It's not helping your cause. If you want to do that, that's fine. If it's not about your ego or how cool you are, don't post it. You can be just as cool doing proper techniques. It's your personality that makes people drawn into you. You could still be funny. You could still be outgoing. You could do all of that stuff. You just don't have to be reckless. And I always say on these forums when we're having these battles and stuff, it's like nobody that's a true professional, Kristen Wiley, Jim Harrison, Terry Phillip, Doug Hodel, all these guys, they're not Ray Morgan. These guys are not looking at those guys like they're talented on what they do. They're not. They think they're fools. I'll go to these conferences and I have a lot of respect from these guys. It wasn't always like that. I've made my mistakes in the past as well, and I had to earn the respect of those guys. But I sure wouldn't have it if I had a YouTube flinging cobras around and doing that stuff. They would think, they might be cordial to your face, but they don't take you as a serious venomous professional. And I think we also have to think about what the people next to, like, we're growing and open to the public facility. And we're in agricultural land, but we've got neighbors next to us. One of them's not a fan of snakes. The other neighbor with kids, she loves us and they love what we're doing, and they're very supportive of what we do. And it's a matter of perception. They've been over, they see how we handle the animals, and they know these guys are safe, that they're doing what they need to be serious. Our kids are not in danger with them having them. The other one won't want to come over and see what we've got. She, probably thinks they're all loose or something, and you got to cater to the people next door to you. She might see these videos that these sensationalistic free handlers and go, oh, you guys must be doing that stuff next door to us. It's like, no, we don't handle stuff like that. And like, it's amazing when you do outreach programs and you're out, everybody that is not into reptiles, when these people say, oh, it doesn't hurt anybody, whatever. The ignorant people that are not reptile people have no freaking clue about any of this stuff. And all it takes is a couple of time of them seeing this stuff where they don't want those people in their area. And it's like, whether you handle them appropriately or not, they don't want them there, So, but if you could show that you're handling them professionally, oh, we stock our own anti-venom, we have protocols, we're inspected multiple times a year by Fish and Wildlife. They go, oh, these guys are really on top of their game. I feel a little bit better about those guys. But if you meet us and we're just like, oh, whatever, bro, like, check out my cobra, they're going to be like, those guys are not who we want around, and we just got to think about the bigger picture. It's not just about you. It's, if you really love this stuff, I know I've had my fair share of problems. Like, when I grew up in Las Vegas, Nevada, where I got my experience catching native venomous species, and it was legal to keep native venomous species in Nevada. Native venomous species in Nevada, but exotics were not. I grew up, king snake just hit the scene. I was able to get my hands on exotic venomous animals. It was in Vegas, you could do all kinds of things legally. Keeping venomous reptiles is one of the very few things in Vegas that are not allowed. And I went the better part from about 13 years old when I got my first exotic venomous, a pair of white-lipped vipers, to about 20 years old where I got busted. It was, I had an amazing collection and I was just infatuated with these animals, but it was illegal in my state to have the animals that I like. I had a family that I always jokingly say they had the best parents or the most, the worst parents in the world, because they allowed me to keep that stuff because they saw I had a fascination with it. I don't think they realized that on how extreme the legalities were, but they saw it as, because I had been keeping non-venomous for years and breeding certain things and whatever. I had hooks and books, and like, I was always reading about venomous animals, and I always thought the difference between venomous reptiles, like I reference it to fish, tropical fish. Freshwater fish, you get your feet wet, you learn how to keep, you learn all the basic husbandry. Then you moved into the tropical saltwater fish, more alluring, had a different aura about them. The venomous reptiles were the saltwater fish for me. I was always attracted to them. It wasn't about the venom. It wasn't how deadly they were. It was about the animals themselves. And there was nothing that was going to stop me from doing it, right? Like, and it was before MySpace and Facebook and stuff. King Snake was, Fauna was out there. So I made a couple contacts and I was able to get stuff, right? How I ended up getting caught is somebody in another state, South Carolina, who received a few animals that were allegedly brought in from Europe and captive-born Gila monsters, ridge-nosed rattlesnakes and twin-spot rattlesnakes, got busted because he posted a picture of a twin spot on king snake. It had turquoise paint on the rattle, and allegedly the person that sold these snakes to the guy that got busted for posting them said that they marked the tails for sexes. You know, males had a certain color, females had it could have been a valid thing to say, I guess, you know. But really, it was an animal that was poached out of the Chiricahua Mountains. That was a study animal, and the paint on the rattle was a sequence of paint from a researcher. Well, the guy who got it didn't know that, posted the picture on King Snake with the paint on the rattle. Allegedly, the researcher just happened to stumble across that ad, that snake, his study animal. Fish and Wildlife, U.S. Fish and Wildlife is notified. They go and raid him. Ignorance is no excuse for the law. He didn't know. And we had done business, even though it was in another state and it was illegal for me to have done that. But you know how that works. And I was able to get some snakes and from him, but he didn't directly ship them to me. Somebody else did. And but I had emails exchanged in his computer. Well, when he got busted, they take the computer, they decipher all the emails. That's how they found me. So I got busted in Vegas, 2006, 2007. I got 3 counts of the Lacey Act. All right, so this is what I was facing: 3 felony counts of the Lacey Act for the illegal importation, sale, possession of you know, and trading and what have you of prohibited wildlife in that state. And each count was up to 5 years in prison and $250,000 per count. So 3 counts, $750,000 in fines and 15 years in prison, potentially, for the maximum sentence of the Lacey Act. Well, that's if I was prosecuted under the full extent of the Lacey Act, which they didn't, and they brought it down to misdemeanor. So fortunately, I didn't have that over my head, and brought it down to, you know, I had to get arrested to process me and all that stuff. And the thing was, when I got a knock on the door after the raid. So I wasn't there for the raid. I was actually at a friend's house spending the night. This is when I was 20 years old, right? You know, still living with my parents, but really back then, like, kids lived with their parents till like 35 now. So that's still relatively young, right? And, you know, so I was 20 years old. And, you know, I was putting in zoo applications because I really just wanted to get into a zoo. I was keeping these animals. I was looking for a state where it was legal for me to get out, making enough money to move out. I wasn't planning to keep these things illegally forever. I was trying to get out, and I just, you know, I didn't get out in time. But I'm actually happy to things that how it happened, because the way that life hasn't unfolded since then has benefited me much more, and I'm a much more knowledgeable person and would do things a lot differently now because of what happened. Met Pia because of it, and every other thing that has happened has been because of this. And it really let the fire under my ass to become a professional, because I was a fuck up. I was a fuck up in Las Vegas. You know, even though I had a passion for these animals, and these are laws created by people that don't even like these animals or even understand it, but in the general public's eyes, I was a fuck up. And when I got busted, man, I had everybody on these forums telling me I was the reason that this shit happens, right? Just like I say to everybody else, you know, this is what's going to happen if you guys don't stop. It happened to me. I was the fuck up. I was the guy that was the reference of don't be a loser like this guy. Well, after 10 years of working through that and moving to Florida, getting my foot in the door with multiple institutions and able to build that reputation back up, it took a long time. And I could have just been, if I wasn't serious about it, I could have said, screw it. You know, I'll just go do something else. But I really this is all I wanted to do. I just did it in the wrong place. But it's no different than what could happen everywhere else in the country or the world. You know, how this happened with that. And, you know, it's just like, it's a lot of the stuff that I say is through experience of what happened to me, you know,
right.
whether it's a free handling, because I wasn't on there was no social media. Like, I got caught like pretty much the legitimate way. Like, they had to investigate me to figure out what had happened. I didn't have a mistake. I didn't have an accident or anything like that. You know, I didn't even know what was happening. My parents called me up. I couldn't believe that phone call. Cody, don't come home. The house was raided this morning by U.S. Fish and Wildlife. They shut the whole neighborhood down. They had bulletproof vests on. There were people with guns in the backyard. Like it was a full by operation. So they give you a file name, Operation Slither. That was the name of
They couldn't have come up with something cooler.
Dude, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool, though. Operation Slither. I mean, like, I almost.
Tell me that was your Xbox name. Tell me that was your Xbox stream
No,
name.
I didn't. No. Like, I actually wanted to call when we.
Cody doesn't have a TV. How would he have an Xbox?
This is true.
Yeah. I'd play it on my phone. But like I literally I was before Terrestrial and Arboreal, before we made that company name, I was telling people, I was like, we should name our business Operation Slither. And she's like, no, that's stupid. Like, are we gonna be at a show like wearing bulletproof vests, like being all like that's our uniform, looking all like SWAT and stuff? And she made me feel pretty lame about it. So I was like, I thought it was cool, but I guess it wasn't that cool. But you know, but it was a big deal, man. And the minimum penalty I got, you heard the maximum penalty. I had to pay a $10,000 fine for that. I had to pay $10,000. I had 6 months of house arrest. I was on probation for 5 years without being able to keep a venomous reptile in my private collection unless I was employed by a zoological facility working with them. And that was the inspiration to get off my ass and do it. And
I agree on that one, Scott. We should make T-shirts to benefit the RPI, Operation Slither.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's it's these things that like, and this was in 2007. What?
Yeah, that's Samson Pruitt is the owner of Slither Inc.
That's funny, but yeah, I mean, here's the thing: is like it happens. That was in 2007 that happened. You know, it's like here we are in 2021. Laws are stricter, social media is everywhere, and these guys, their job is to create more regulations to enforce, so that pays their bills. We need to not give them more reasons to do that. Like that's what, you know, that's all I'm saying. Like, you know, it's like if you want to do that stuff behind closed doors, you know. Like I've definitely, like I said, I've definitely done some things that I wouldn't suggest for other people to do. I don't do them now. They're dumb things. It wasn't to be sensationalistic. It was literally, you're a dumb idiot thinking, hey, I bet I can do this or let this thing crawl across my hand and it won't be a big deal, you know? And sometimes it's not. Sometimes you lose a finger. Sometimes you lose a life. Sometimes you could create more legislation. And it's just not worth it. Think about other people in the bigger picture. You know, it is about the bigger picture, and don't be so selfish to think that it's not, you know, or a venomous bite only affects you. It doesn't. There's a giant chain of shit that happens when somebody gets bit. If you're not keeping your own anti-venom. Now listen, if you're a free handler and you have a stocked shelf of anti-venom, hey, you know what? Then it is on you, and it just affects you. And maybe your family's going to be sad or something if you die from it. But if you're not depleting anti-venom resources, or you're not waking up a zoo person in the middle of the night because of something dumb you were doing, and you have a stock shelf, hey, that's on you. At least you're being professional in that regard. If you feel that strongly that you need to handle these things, you should feel that strongly about stocking your own anti-serum and not the what ifs when it happens, like not Kristen Wiley, but Leslie Boyer says in the Venom interviews, what ifs happen? What ifs happen? And they usually happen at like 2:00 in the morning, you know, when everybody's asleep and they're not going to get that phone call for anti-venom. So it's like, if you're going to do dumb stuff, at least stock your own anti-venom or have a plan, or at least free handle native stuff. But here's the thing. Even native stuff, okay, so you free handle something native and you take a bite from something and you use up the hospital supply of Profab, and then a little girl comes in from a snake bite, and guess what? All of the anti-venom has been wasted because of some idiot doing something stupid where this little girl got bit playing in her backyard. You know, it's definitely something that affects other people. It goes down the lane. So, you know, it is what it is. But like with my whole bust, like I was able to pull ahead of it. I did my time. I worked my way up. I put it behind me. I'm not proud of it. I would say I'm not not ashamed of it. I'm not proud of it, but it's like it did define who I was. It made me a better person ultimately. And I'll tell you what, all these guys, all these professional zoo people back in the day, you know, a lot of them knew that, or a few of them knew what I was doing, and that I had stuff that was illegal, and they were obviously not supportive of it, but they told me, instead of like going narking me out or turning me in or whatever, they told me things to do to be better, safer, and things like that, but you know, suggested to get out and do something better than what I was doing, and I had a full plan to do that. Now here we are in Florida, all of our permits, you know, and are very much under the watchful eye of law enforcement. But we're in a place, you know, everybody says too, I saw a comment earlier like, oh, just move to Texas, but where it's a free-for-all. The problem with a free-for-all is, at least in Florida, it's a little bit of a bitch here, but there's a process, and it's a lot harder for them to do an all-out ban because there's enough of us permit holders out here, and there's enough of a process and a law enforcement agency that is accustomed to this process built over decades of enforcing it in a place like Texas without real stringent regulations. Not that I'm a fan of stringent regulations, but the second somebody has a bite, a escape or something like that, it's a lot easier for legislation to say, hey, let's just put an all-out ban on it than make a more, you know, processed regulation like Florida. It's easier, like Pennsylvania. Hey, somebody got bit, escaped snake. Let's just ban them. Here in Florida, if they try it, we have enough people that are stakeholders in the permit process that will fight it, and they may make stronger regulations, but they're not going to ban it. So I'm a fan of Florida's regulations. I think that there are areas of improvement, like the 1,000 hours per family. I don't think you should have 1,000 hours of heloderma and elapids. They're not in the same category. That needs to be redone. I think something like so, Phil, think about this. Okay, for native venomous in Arizona, you just need a hunting license, right, to have native venomous. Here, you have to have the whole gamut, 1,000 hours of venomous, you know, blah blah blah.
Right.
Okay, so what if they did not a hunting license, but a real venomous permit in Florida, but a native venomous permit? So you let's say you pay $50 for it, like the class 3. You have the same inspections. Fish and Wildlife comes and inspects the cages for a year. You do all that stuff, no escapes, no bites or whatever. You're accruing your 1,000 hours of viperidae. So through the native stuff, no incidences for a year or two with native. Then they issue an exotic, you know, pit viper or whatever. You know, so that way people can at least get native stuff, because I don't think it should be on the same tier, but maybe a surrogate in a way to get into venomous where people don't necessarily have to go mentor, because a lot of these animals, like if you could work a pygmy or an eastern diamondback, you could probably handle most of the viperid species out there. You know what I'm saying? So if Fish and Wildlife is inspecting you and you're filing all the paperwork you need to and everything is good, you know, maybe that could be a different alternative. This is all stuff that needs to be talked about down the road. For heloderma, let's say 100 hours, 50 hours, or whatever, or a weekend course of somebody who can show you how to keep your fingers out of a heloderma's mouth, and that's a different animal than a cobra. It shouldn't have the same thing. So there are definitely some things that need to be reassessed, but I think as a whole, our program is not a bad one. It could use some work, but I think we're okay. I just don't want to see it get worse, man. And that's another reason why we're going.
That's what's going to happen. It's you give them an inch and they take a mile. And that's what happened with 1,000 hours per category. It was, the rumor is the guy who wrote the laws was actually an animal guy, and he broke it down from being 1,000 hours for everything to 100 hours for each category. And then what happened was somebody fat fingered it and added an extra 0, and the legislation was like, oh, well, keep it. It's going to make it harder. Keep it. So your whole thing about doing a native thing, I think it's a great idea. The problem is you're going to get a lot of good old boys aren't going to take it seriously. We're going to have a ton of native venomous, and then they're either going to get more bites, they're going to have more issues, they're going to have more incidences, and this is just me being pragmatic about it. And the problem is with what you're saying is I totally agree with you. 50-60% of the exotic viperidae you could handle very, very similar to Florida's native viperidae. However, they're just going to get a pygmy rattlesnake that's this friggin' big, and they're going to work with it and work with it and work with it, and they're going to accrue hours. Then the minute they get their license, wham, they're going to get a puff adder. Not the same. So like I have my own personal thoughts on that regard,
Right.
but I agree with you that it can be evolved, it can be expanded on, it can be more diverse. But the problem is that they're not going to look at it like that, and that's just me. Maybe I'm a Debbie Downer, but I'm being more pragmatic about it in the sense of we've given them inches and they're taking miles. You know, this new thing with terrapins is horrible, and you're restricting a species that doesn't even need to be restricted. Yes, there are isolated pockets that are in federally protected or state protected lands, but the problem is if I get paperwork saying that the thing flew from Philly, and you know what, it did, and I have a box in the shipping thing, and they want to open the box upon arrival, sure, go for it. But how are you going to restrict me from that? You know what I mean? I didn't catch it in my backyard. They're not even fucking native down here. So like that's the problem. The whole iguana thing, you know where that came about, right? The rumor is that the woman who spearheaded it had them shitting on her dock, and she didn't like it. Give an inch, take a mile. You know, they banned yellow anacondas were the gateway for them to take it all, because they basically said, hey, we're thinking about banning yellow anacondas because if they got loose, it would be real bad. It would be worse than the berms because they're highly aquatic, blah, blah, blah. And everyone in Florida said, yeah, who cares? Nobody keeps yellow anacondas anyway. They're boring. They're mean, whatever. They poop, whatever. And so they let it happen. And they were like, oh, now we have an actual banned list, because you don't forget, for years there was a rumor.
That's just the foundation.
Right. It was a rumor for years that sea snakes were banned in Florida. And you know what? People believed it, and no one ever tried to keep a sea snake. Now, keeping sea snakes is a fucking pain in the ass. That's why nobody keeps them. At the same time, you remember a couple years ago, they added it to the friggin' venomous list on accident? Well, guess who applied for it? And then I got a phone call from a lady in Tallahassee saying, Mr. Wolf, do you possess Hydrophilidae? No, but I'd like to. I put in for it, you know, pending on my application. Oh, yeah, well, unfortunately, sir, those animals are banned in Florida. I said, really? I'd really appreciate if you email me the statutes. Never got an email. Sent another email. Hey, I was supposed to get statutes on what was banned in terms of sea snakes and lapids and blah, blah. Oh, please click this link and find them yourself. Guess what? They're not there. Now they are, per 2021. Probably my fault. But you know what? I had to ask. I had to go through it. Because that yellow anaconda, that one species that nobody cared about, nobody kept them, was the gateway to just take it all.
Yeah.
So, on a lighter note,
my tinfoil hat. I'll be right back.
Well, you know what? But on a lighter note, I'm stealing Austin Warwick's idea. When you do get the cataphractus, we need to have the fucking cataphractus wine mixer.
Oh, we
cataphractus wine mixer. I love it.
We could definitely do that. I'm excited about it. Yeah, they're coming down here. Bruce Schwedig is bringing them down here. Are you guys familiar with Bruce Schwedig?
Nope.
He's big into the crocodilian world. He's a private individual. He's got a facility out here in Florida. He's a really well known amongst the crocodilian zoo world, you know, and all the biologists and stuff. He's one of the few private people that are really held in high regards of the zoo people and all the crocs and stuff. And he's been around for forever. And these animals are actually currently at Baltimore Zoo, I think, Maryland Zoo. They're at Maryland Zoo, and they're owned by Bruce. And I guess they're doing something with the enclosure. The animals have outgrown the enclosure or something like that. And because I was just texting with Bruce saying, hey, we're building some croc enclosures for some adult animals and stuff. We'd like to exhibit some stuff. You know, I know you've got the ties and you know, maybe some animals that need to be placed or whatnot. So we're open ears. And he goes, actually, I do have some. And among those are these adult Paracataphractus that are reportedly unrelated wild animals at one point. They're very valuable for the SSP, so which for zoos is the species survival plan. A lot of these endangered animals and stuff, you know, have an SSP, governing genetics and what breeds to what and whatever. So they're very valuable among zoos, and I'm just very honored that Bruce would entrust us to place those animals here on a breeding / exhibit loan. And if we bred them, these animals would stay within the zoo world and stuff, maybe potentially reintroduced back out into the wild. Who knows? Dr. Matt Shirley has cataloged pretty much all of the cataphractus that are in captive collections, at least in the U.S. And, so he would dictate whether that would be something that would happen, or if they're just animals that would stay within certain zoos and stuff like that are approved to breed to certain individuals, so they have good genetics to potentially do that. There you go. There's some cataphractus there.
Awesome.
And they're just one of my, I spent a few years working with the adult pair at the alligator farm that produced a few times. My first year there in 2010, they hatched them out. I just got hired on there, so I couldn't take any credit for the hatching or anything other than, is it ironic that I started at the farm and the cataphractus hatched? I'll leave that up to you guys to decide. But I was fortunate enough to work with the adults and lots of babies. They're very, very cool. Not very known about crocodilian, unless you're in the crocodilian world or really are into these kind of crocs. So the male that that is coming in is around 10 feet, I'm told, and the female is about 8 feet. So we're pretty, that looks like a picture at the Abidjan Zoo of the one sliding into the water there on that brick wall. I was there. One of my personal favorites. Really, really like him. So it's an honor that Bruce would entrust us with this. So we're in the process of building the enclosures for these animals now, and multiple enclosures past that are just going to remain empty. We really, as far as crocs that we're receiving, we really want them to be from other zoological facilities. We're not looking to buy stuff or to add to the collection. Like the Morletti that are coming from Dallas World Aquarium in the next, pretty soon. I don't know. I got an email from them today. They're a little behind, but we're getting 6 Morletti from them, and they're running out of room there. And they're 2-year-olds and they're getting too big. And they called us up and they said, hey, I've got relationships with Luis Ziegler, who's very well known in the crocodilian world. And their keeper is Dan Navarro, who's one of their main guys there too, and working with those guys. And they said, hey, if you could take them, you're not obligated to, but it would really help us out a lot. And we know that Morletti are a pretty common crocodile within, private sector hands and stuff like that. But here's the thing, and they're coming from a zoo, and we're helping them out by taking them. And that's really like space-wise and stuff. And that's how we really want to do it. Like the cataphractus coming from Maryland Zoo, or if the alligator farm, who is just an hour down the road from us, if they need extra holding space for something else, and they say, hey, could you guys take these animals? We will gladly help them. We love crocodilians, so we're happy to work with them, whatever they need placing. It's a good story. It keeps us tied to the other zoos out there. And we're not getting these animals to breed them and try to sell babies or anything like that. We really just want to do good for right by the animal education, outreach stuff. Obviously, promote awareness of them, but also help hold animals for zoos. And hey, if we could participate in something like the cataphractus that are born, like if we're lucky enough to do that, and some animals that are here end up making it back to the wild at some point. I know that's like the long goal that everybody says, oh, if we could send them back to the wild, and there's so much paperwork and BS that has to happen when that happens. But hey, if it happens, great. But honestly, just being tied to professional facilities is good, and working with crocs regardless of what they are. You can't be elitist and you can't go, oh, it's just a Morlets, man. It's like, dude, Morlets are cool. They're cool. Like, it's people have made them, oh, it's just a Morlets, because you could go get them at South Carolina show or something, or at Texas. But here's the thing, man, these little Morlets that are 12 inches when people get them at these reptile shows, once they hit 3 feet, man, that's a dangerous animal. That's going to open you up, take a finger, give you stitches. And once they hit 4 or 5 feet, that's an animal that you need to have, there are people that can learn on their own without a mentor and stuff. I certainly did. with Venomous in Vegas. Now, I had a lot of mentors. Maybe they didn't know it. I was admiring from afar and taking notes and learned how to do it on my own through trial and error. But it would have been a lot better if I could have started where Paul started. And, like the whole, adage, the best first Venomous is someone else's kind of thing. Yeah. That is a good thing. And Paul got to learn that way for sure. And it's good because he gets to learn all the behaviors and this, and don't do that. That animal doesn't like this, and all the intricacies there. With Crocs, man, I think it's especially important because that's a smart animal watching your every move, and you really, I feel so fortunate to have spent the time that I did at St. Augustine Alligator Farm, because I would be so oblivious to crocodilia, husbandry, captive management, and all that stuff without them. And after being there, I just see these like Morlets and stuff in other people's collections where I'm just like, man, you guys are just unprepared for this animal when it's 4 feet. It's because when they're this big, you could keep them in a 10-gallon, no big deal. When they're that big and that big and that big, it's then how you approach the animal in the enclosure when they come flying out. I hate on Instagram when I see these things with like somebody hanging out with a smooth front caiman on their pillow in their bed, and they're like, oh, it likes it. I'm like, that's a fucking dinosaur on your bed. And it just because it's not attacking you, yeah, these animals can be conditioned and they could be whatever. But you know what I like? I like a crocodile that acts like a crocodile and learning how to interact and work that animal as a crocodile, not as a puppy. The same way I learned Komodos at the alligator farm, as I work with Komodos that actually acted like Komodos, not these big puppy dogs you could rub all over the face. Like these animals would send you to the hospital if you messed around with them. So I got to really learn what a Komodo was, not under the misleading, oh, it's a Komodo, let's just play with this big puppy dog. So I feel the same way about crocodilians. I know you can condition them to be like that. I just don't trust it. I don't have the time to make a puppy dog tame alligator. I don't want a puppy dog tame alligator because the one that's going to kill me that I know is going to bite my arm off is probably the one that I'm going to be the safest around, where I'm not going to take a risk around, where the animal that I play with is the one that I'm probably going to lose my arm to, is because I trust it a little too much. So I would just prefer to work same with crocodile monitors, the liberties that people take with croc monitors and stuff. I mean, I've worked with plenty
that's
of
insane.
Seeing Crutchfield's bite, man, holy crap.
Anyone, if you've ever seen a bite from a croc monitor, I don't care if the lizard was 6 inches long. And Ryan Cox always breaks my balls about it too, because there's very, very few things I'm legitimately afraid of in this world. And I know that sounds cocky, but like, for example, animals in Florida. I'm not afraid of any animal in Florida because I've learned what's going on. I've educated myself to that. But
except for
croc monitors freak me out, man.
So if you, I'm not sure what show it was, but Ron St. Pierre was on a podcast and he talked about the first time he hatched croc monitors out. And he said he was so excited he reached into the egg box and just grabbed the lizard out and it bit him. And he said it ripped through him like a knife going through butter. He said he was so shocked that small little lizard had teeth that were just insane.
Fresh out of the air. Yeah.
But hey, guys, alas, it's 11:15. Unfortunately, I got to work in the morning.
We're gonna wrap it up.
Just a quick touch back on what we started with. It's not that I despise or hate anybody or blah, blah, blah. I just hate the fact that so many people are willing to jeopardize the industry that we love, that I love, and they just don't care about it. That irks me more than anything. So if people feel that, and I'll say, listen, Tyler's the one that messaged me. If he wants to talk, I got no problem talking to him. I just wish that these guys would take the opportunity to just take a step back and look at the big picture. That's all. If they did that, we would all be further along, and they could still do that stuff off to the side on their own. It is what it is. You you can't fix anybody from doing something that you don't want them to do. They're going to continue to do it. Tyler made a point on Instagram, my snakes, my choice, blah, blah, blah. It is what it is. Go ahead and do it. I just ask that people be smarter than, a rock. So.
All right.
There you have it.
Episode 59. What are we going to do for 60?
I don't know.
I feel like it should be something good. Everyone celebrates their 60th birthday.
We'll come back. We'll come back on with a few more people and really have this out. Maybe I could convince Terry Phillip or somebody to come on too.
Yeah, man. We welcome.
That'd be cool.
I've tried to
be very cool.
get Terry on the CondraCast before, and he's a private guy. He likes to stay.
That's the thing. He's
in the gardens, and that's cool. I don't have any problems with it.
I could work.
Yeah, man,
I could
Cody,
work. I could try to work on it. I know that he's not a big fan of going on podcasts and stuff. And the two that he went on, the Reptile Radio podcast back in the day and Morelia Python Radio, were some of the best. I mean, I probably listened. Like Terry Phillip is a friend, a mentor, and just like one of my favorite people of all times. I really just value his opinions on stuff. He's very, very common sense, very matter of fact, and I just really enjoy his perspective. And I listen to those shows probably 20 times each, easy. 2.5 hours or whatever. And he's just not. And they were some of the most listened to by the general public too. But he's just not a big. He doesn't like going on things. He won't go on like a lot of these YouTubers stuff because because of how that they'll spin it and stuff. If I talk to him and say, listen, these guys aren't like that, and it would just be a casual talking of stuff. He may definitely do it, but there's no promises there. But yeah. So
well, the door is always open to him. So if he ever decides to, we will 100% have him on any show. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, and tell him that if he wants to go through questions first and kind of get an idea what we plan on talking about, because I know Justin's questions are going to be drastically different than my questions from just two different snake avenues, and just if he wants to go over that kind of stuff and put his mind at ease, then we're totally down for it, because he's a role model to us,
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, so it's definitely not going to be that show. It's going to be, wow, we get to have a role model on,
Oh yeah, for sure. And I think that's what a lot of people need to see. A lot of these professionals that have made a living in professional zoology and herpetology and stuff that are like that have been kind of behind the scenes for this long, but are actually making a living doing. Like, they've been paying their bills for decades, doing this stuff, and it's real cool insight to listen to what these guys have to say before all the flashy stuff that you see on YouTube now. Everybody's an expert. I can't listen to half the things that are out anymore because it's just a regurgitation of all the same old stuff. I just kind of get bored, and then I'm like, oh, somebody read this somewhere else, and they're turning around and making it as a matter of fact when they don't have any experience in the matter and stuff. Or people arguing with me that like sterile keeping of a green tree python is better than a bioactive setup that's done by somebody who knows how to do I'm like, if you don't know how to do it, you could fuck the animal up doing it. But if you know how to do it, man, some of these chondros that are in zoos are 30 years old and they're still living, and they're in natural habitats with UV and all this stuff.
Oh, we lost him. All right. Well, it was nice. So I was on the 15 minutes of lame with Scott.
I believe I voted for you.
Yes, with Chris Eaton. And it's funny that our group chat with all of us, they're talking about NITO testing. And Corey just said that they listen to the THP podcast. So
excellent.
They're good people. They're good people.
Well, if Cody gets to listen to this, we appreciate him coming on very much. And, of course, Paul, you're always awesome.
Love you guys.
Yeah, buddy. Miss
no homo.
Definitely.
Yeah, we all got to get together. Even if there's no Carpet Fest or anything, we should we should definitely all get together for something. So
Yeah, I mean, you're not that far
we
from
can
me. I
do
think Orlando's 5 or 6 hours from me. P and Cody are only like 3, so.
Yeah. I mean, listen, we can do something. If we all did something here, we got the pool. We're right near Wild Florida. You know, we can make a weekend out of it. What's that?
I've never been to St. Augustine Alligator Farm, and like,
really,
I have so many friends. I've never been. I have so many friends that
dude,
work
we gotta
there,
go.
there,
yeah, that'd be a cool trip.
Yeah,
we all get together.
It's been a super long time since I've been there. Like, I mean, I'm talking like.
I was just there in October
22
for
years. Yeah, I mean, it's been a hot minute.
I was just there in October for Cracktoberfest.
Yeah, and they're the only place in the world that has every species, right?
Yeah.
No, I don't believe they're the only place now. You have to ask Cody, but
they
were at one point.
Yeah. They do have everything. So, but all right, boys, we'll see you guys later. It was great to be on. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man.
Always. Take care.
We'll talk to you guys soon.
Bye.
Episode 59, Puget Sound Pythons. Check them out. THP is coming back Thursday, pending your schedule.
Yeah.
So I don't know what we're going to plan. I don't know if we should do like a one-on-one, talk about what we got going on for the year, what the plan is, or,
do that.
You know, ease our way back into the regular schedule. So.
Your regular scheduled program.
That's right.
I actually got, so I got a new MacBook.
I saw that. Are you using it?
No, not right now because I'm outside and this is a bigger screen and I know it works. So I wasn't about to like start fiddling with stuff, you know. But I got a new MacBook, got a new iPhone, got a microphone coming, a lapel mic coming.
I still have to send this to you. I've not forgotten about it.
Okay, so. No worries, man. And yeah, things are gonna be good, man. Internet's
avoiding the post office, so
it's fine. I don't blame you. Yeah, and for anyone who does want to get those Venomous etiquette videos, go check it out. There's a 12-second bullshit clip on there just to...
With the kinkajou.
It's not a kinkajou. It's a slow lord, for Christ's sake.
Same thing. Little tree rat.
Very few people in this world. Very few people in this world have been able to say, and I'm going to sound cocky, have been able to say that they have interacted with, on a personal level, a fully intact slow loris. This guy.
Whatevs. Yeah, Raffle, Snakes and Stogies Raffle. I showed all the goodies at the beginning of the episode, so if you're watching this, go back and check it out. There's a couple slots left. I'm about to open it up in the next couple days to people who want double slots instead of just singles. So get in where you fit in.
Yeah, and Cody apologizes. His phone died. We appreciate you coming on, Cody. We love you. And Scott, thanks for coming on too, man. You are a fucking
every time.
Model.
Yeah.
Every time. Like, and it's
recommend a cigar.
We always say it is how this is the only hobby or community. It's a community. It's the only community where you can meet heroes, and they're typically not douches like actors, you know. Or movie stars or musicians or whatever.
They're attainable. They're reachable.
They're attainable.
You can talk to them. They're right there.
Yeah, and we can communicate, you know, and that's awesome, you know. I fangirl over Scott, and it makes him happy, and then it gives him a big head, and then he makes fun of me, and then I regret it.
Then Nipper gets jealous.
And then Nipper gets jealous, and then Nipper calls me a skirt wearing
a cock wobble or whatever it was that he said in the
whatever it was. Yeah.
Clayton said recommend a cigar. Off the top of your head, first thing you recommend right now.
Nova
3, 2, 1, go. Nova Platinum. How did I know you say Nova? Those are good.
Nova Platinum.
I do enjoy those.
Dude, I've only got 2 left. And I'm like, COVID, I gotta go get more.
I recommended a bunch of Perdomo Habano Connecticut's today because that is just nice. For people looking for something nice, like mild to medium, but creamy and just delicious. Those are fantastic.
I almost smoked a Cuban a Habano Padron, and I was like, no, man, gotta get that Jericho in. Haven't had one in a while. So
Nova Platinum.
Yeah, Nova Platinum.
Yeah. I've had a handful from Phil, and they are good. Yeah, I really enjoyed them. I was very impressed with them. So
yeah, if you like a Liga Privada number 9, you will definitely like the Nova Platinum. So, and yeah.
Yes, creamy and delicious, Clayton.
Very much so.
Perdomo, Habano, Connecticut. There's just like a handful of different sizes to choose from, and their price is right. I think the Toros are at like $8.50 a piece from here. So,
and if anybody who is not getting on the raffle, I definitely highly recommend that Calibri cutter. Justin got me one, and it is the best cutter I've used for a cat's eye.
You need to send Thomas some Novas. Thomas has never heard of them.
All right. They're coming your way, Bubba. Most definitely.
All right.
Thank you for watching, listening, participating. See you in a couple days.
Later.
Bye.